Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. This is a story about what if Naruto is Rias' nephew in high school DxD. Before I start, please support for more amazing content and do consider subscribing to my channel and share this video with your friends. This is written by ZRAIARZ and link in description and support writer. Let's start the video. Chapter 1. Rough start. Uea. The sound of two little cries could be heard as they took their first breaths of air. The cries came from two baby girls. One had gold hair with red eyes and the other had red hair with dark violet eyes. Both babies had whisker marks on their cheeks and oval pupils in their eyes. Though the exoticness didn't stop there as both girls sported a foxtail and ears to match their tails. Now you might think this was out of place if not for who was holding them. A beautiful young woman with red hair and violet eyes held the two as she laid propped up on the bed. She went by the name Kushina and she was a kitsune sporting 9 red tails. She held her babies protectively as their cries died down, calmed by their mother's warmth. Her weak voice echoed out from her faint smile as she spoke to the only other body in the room. Neri-chan, look at your new baby sisters. Their names are Mizo-tan to the blonde daughter and Shio-tan to the red one. I want you to be a good Oni-chan for them, a watch over them, protect them when I'm gone. The receiver of these words was another baby of around 9 months old who held himself up in a pin nearby, barely able to stand. He had whisker marks like his sisters and oval pupils, but other than that looked completely human as his shock blonde hair came in down to partially cover his deep blue eyes. His name was Naruto and he looked on in innocent curiosity at his two new siblings. You would think that such words would be lost on a child so young, but she felt that they reached him somehow. Don't worry about being different from your sisters or not being good enough, Neri-chan. You are strong, stronger than I may ever know, and don't let anyone tell you different. I wish at least your father, if not me, would have lived long enough to see you all grow up, but it doesn't look like that will happen. Just know that I love each of you equally and more than anything else in the world. Remember that, my babies. After a few more words she went silent, content with holding her newborns as Naruto just watched with his curious gaze. As if he was aware of what was going on. When she finished, another person entered the room quietly to check in on her. It was a beautiful kitsune woman with golden hair and 9 tails and had the appearance of someone in their late teens. Ni-sama, don't you think your hopes are too high for him? From what I can see he is probably a normal human, maybe a little above average, but otherwise a runt. She was silenced at that last word by a flooding of a dark killing intent that made her freeze up in panic as Kushina's eyes slitted and locked with hers. And just like that it was gone as she went back to gently smiling at her children, making the girl take a deep breath. Isaka-chan, you would do well to not call my Sachi or aunt in my presence. Believe me when I say that looks can be deceiving. With us being foxes you should have learned that lesson by now. Need I remind you about Minato-kun? The now named Yusaka regained her bearings as the pressure eased up. She forgot how dangerous her sister could be, even in her weakened state, her anger wasn't something to mess with. Naruto gained her pity if nothing else if it turned out that his sisters inherited even a fraction of her full temper. Ni-sama, fair enough. Good, Kushina responded, not taking her eyes off her two girls. Now would you be a dear and bring Neri-chan over here for me? Having no reason to disagree she picked up Naruto from his pen, the baby not uttering a signal sound of distaste. Looking at the baby, Yusaka couldn't help but gain a small smile. The kid is cute though. At least he has that to his advantage. She went over and handed Naruto to Kushina, who took him in one arm while she held his daughters in the other. Oh, don't worry, Yusaka-chan, I have a feeling that he will have more than just his looks as an advantage. And to answer your question, it's only natural for a parent to have high hopes and expectations for their children. It's part of the job because any decent parent wants the best for their offspring. Maybe one day when you have a kid of your own you will understand. Yusaka looked slightly bashful as a small blush dusted her face at the thought. Kushina struck Naruto's hair with one hand as he watched his sleepy sisters, causing her to smile. But whatever he does I will be able to rest in peace knowing he's happy. I guess I can understand that a little. What I can't understand is why all their names are related to Ramen. Yusaka's eyebrow twitched at that. Kushina just giggled softly without a care. What's there to understand? I love Ramen and I love my babies. Yes, I know. Everyone in the clan knows about your love for Ramen, but could you have named them something different? Having all the kids named after the same kind of thing kinda sends a weird message, like that one show popular with humans about these superpower monkey people who were all named after vegetables. You always did like you're an I'm. That's not my point. I'm not changing their names, Yusaka-chan. Naruto, Shio, and Mizo are the names related to delicious ramen and are the names of my delicious children. Kushina hummed to herself happily. Yusaka just sweat dropped at that, delicious children. Her eyes went alert when she saw blood drip down from the corner of Kushina's mouth. Anasama. SSHH, it's okay, I know I only have a few days left at the most. She gave a sad smile to her sister, knowing her time with her and her children was short. Are you sure nothing could be done to help you, Nisama? Believe me, Asaka-chan, if I knew of any way to stay with my children and watch them grow up just a little long, I would take that in a heartbeat. But I can trust you to do that for me, can't I, Asaka-chan? You will take care of your nieces and nephew, won't you? The golden vixen gave her sister a reassuring smile. Hi, Nisama. Shio, Mizo, even Naruto. They will be taken care of. Kushina gave her a grateful smile, knowing that she wouldn't have to worry. As Shimei Kushina's and Yasaka's ears pricked at the small voice before looking down at the cause of it. Naruto was reaching out for his sleeping sisters with his small pudgy hand, all the while uttering Shiimai over and over. Kushina's eyes widened and watered at what she was hearing. Shiimiiso. Kushina held her children tightly to her as she cried in happiness. Her son's first words. She lived long enough to at least hear them, and they were of him trying to say his new sisters' names. It was as if it was Naruto's goal to reassure his mother as well, because when Naruto said that, it was like Kushina had a weight lifted off her heart that she didn't know she had. Kushina cried as she held them to her face, kissing them repeatedly. Sniff-ka-san has nothing to worry about, Doshinari-chan. Because you will protect your sisters for her, won't you? She smiled into her children as the tears continued to fall. If she didn't know better, she could have sworn she heard a muffled "hi" from Naruto as if he was answering her. Isaka looked on with a smile of her own. Yes, One-sama, I don't think you have anything to worry about at all. Though her smile became somber as those that streamed down Kushina's face became those of blood. Kushina did not live longer than 2 more days, sadly, and so died in the cabin the children lived in the woods. Years later. If there was one thing to be stated, it would be how fast the sisters grew. Well, their physical growth was normal and so little smaller than Naruto, they were standing by the time he was walking and running by the time he could. In fact, Naruto had trouble keeping up with them. He had lots of energy, but they seemed to surpass him in even that. The sisters weren't blind to this, in fact they knew he was weaker, that he was different. His lack of fox features made it obvious regardless of the difference in physical ability, but they didn't have that to really go on as Yasaka had sealed their features early on. They knew it, but Yasaka kept it a secret from Naruto, trying to give him some semblance of a normal human life as long as possible. But they didn't shun him for his weakness. No, they were good sisters and didn't think much of it. Naruto shrugged it off as well. Deep down he hated his inferiority, he didn't know why they were so much better than him, but he enjoyed the time with his sisters even more and so ignored it. Even if he wasn't stronger, he would still be there as their older brother. They were now at the ages of 5 with Naruto almost 6 and were playing in the woods. Yasaka had some business to take care of in getting them to change location and so would be gone for a while. She left every now and then for short periods of time in the past year, so it was nothing new to them. They were surprisingly smart and well-off kids, so they could take care of themselves better than you would think at that age. Though the kitsune woman warned them not to stray off too far from the cabin, and she put a seal on the area to prevent them from doing so for good measure. With her skills she was confident nothing would happen. She would be humbled that day. Ani-chan, hurry up. The cherry voice of Mizo could be heard as she ran in the woods. Yeah, you're too slow. The near-identical voice of Shio could be heard as well as she ran alongside her twin. Both shouts were directed at Naruto, who was lagging behind them some ways, struggling to keep up. He was fast for his age, but only by human standards. He panted as he struggled to keep up with them, trying to get them to stop. Come on guys, you're going too far, we need to go back. His pleas went on deaf ears as they kept going. They all wore similar clothes of blue shorts and shirts, as they didn't much when they basically grew up in the woods. The girls made it to a running river and stopped as they waited for their brother to catch up. Moments later he caught up and bent over to take deep breaths. Keeping up with those girls was exhausting. Ah, can we go back now? We're going too far from the cabin. Calm your panties, Ani-chan, came the snarky response from Shio, causing Naruto's eyebrow to twitch. One last thing please, Ani-chan. The ever sweeter of the twins, Mizo asked him. As usual he gave in, though mainly just because he wanted to make them happy. Fine, one last thing then, we are going home now, hurry up and pick something. The girls looked around then at each other and knew what they wanted. They spoke in their decision in unison while pointing at the tree that had fallen over the river. We want to cross the water. What? No, it's too dangerous. Well, you can wait, Ani-chan, if you can't do it. He twitched at that. Whether he had just been baited or not didn't matter. He wasn't about to let his sisters do that alone. Fine. At that word the girls ran to the fallen trunk to cross it before he could tell them to wait. Kids, where are you? Your Oba-sen is here. Yasaka arrived with her fox features hidden at the cabin and looked around worriedly. Where are they? She sniffed the air and found their scents faint and drifting, meaning they had gone out quite a ways, and with the fact that it was getting dark only made it worse. She took off into the woods as fast as she could to try and find the kids, as she had a bad feeling. Come on, Ani-chan, you can do it. The girls cheered Naruto on as he grumbled. They were already at the end balancing as they walked on the trunk, while Naruto was not even halfway across as he struggled to crawl on it, trying not to slip off into the river. The girls jumped up as they made it to the other side and danced around as they waited for Naruto. "Ani-chan, if you want we can come back and help you across." "Shut up, Shio." He would not pitied or patronized, not that he knew what the second word even meant. He continued to inch across trunk with his eyes closed so that he wouldn't look down. "Grrr." Naruto's eyes snapped open when he heard the girls scream. Shooting his gaze towards them, his eyes widened in fear as he saw a large bear growling at his sisters. The girls were huddled in front of a tree and were too afraid to move as the bear growled at them only a few feet away. They whimpered as it got closer. The bear stood up and roared, they had entered its territory. "Leave them alone." The girls looked up and saw Naruto in front of them, shielding them from the large animal. They didn't even have time to think about how he crossed the river and got over here so fast. "Stay away from my sisters." His eyes were locked hard with the bear and had enough force to cause the animal to freeze up. It couldn't break its gaze with Naruto's as his eyes glared through his hair. It was like some force of some kind was present. All Naruto could think of was protecting his sisters. "Kids." Naruto turned to see Yasaka running out the woods on the opposite of the lake, looking at them in fear for their safety. "Aba-san." Mistakes were made. Naruto shouldn't have taken his eyes off the bear as Yasaka's shout startled it and made it swing. Slash. Naruto was knocked unconscious into a tree as the bear's claws ripped through his chest, drawing a lot of blood. "Naruto." Yasaka screamed out as her nephew was knocked through the air. The sisters could only watch in fear as their brother was hurt, only able to cry. Yasaka's eyes went red with rage as her kitsune features became present and crossed the river in a second to grab the girls out of harm's way before crossing back over to leave the girls on the other side, where they would be safe in another second. Before she could turn around to go back across the water and kill that creature, she heard a sickening crack. CRRRRCCCCKKKK. She turned to the source and her rage-filled eyes were replaced with shock. She was greeted to the sight of Naruto sitting on top of the bear's shoulders with the animal's head twisted all the way back. It was as if something overcame Naruto as one eye shone through the shadows of his messy hair glowing white. Ignoring his eyes, his faces had gone expressionless with his more slightly agape showing longer than normal canines. One of the spikes of blonde hair on the top right of his head turned black as well. Off in the distance she heard several wolves howl as Naruto had the sunset in his backdrop. She only took her eyes off of the bear and Naruto for a few seconds. How was Naruto able to cover the distance and do all that in that time? A few seconds later the bear fell forward with a thump, dead. A second later Naruto fell forward off of him unconscious as blood continued to spill from his chest. Isaka came to her senses and rushed to retrieve Naruto. She couldn't help but think to herself while heading back to the cabin about what Naruto did. "You're not as normal as I thought you were, are you, Naruto-kun?" After that day, while the kids could not remember what happened, several things changed. The girls became more protective and responsive to Naruto, while Naruto became more confident and someone who needed to be protected less. "Shio-chan. Mizo-chan." The girls snapped out of their thoughts that they had drifted off to during their lunch break. They often ate lunch together at their desks and did a lot together, which wasn't uncommon for twins. They turned towards who called them. She was a stunning buxom indeed. She had blue-green eyes and a hair antennae on top of her head. This was Rias Gremory, the one regarded as one of the top beauties at Kuo Academy. Shio spoke up for the two, having a feeling they were having the same dream. "Sorry Rias, but I guess we just got distracted." She rubbed her head in embarrassment. Both girls had become beauties in their own right. At age 16 their figures were comparable to Ria's, if not slightly smaller in the chest department, but evened it out with their bodies looking more toned and agile, showing that they were athletic. Both girls' hair, Shio's red and Mizo's gold blonde, had grown silky and long down their backs and were held together in ponytails that seemed to flare out in a way that resembled a tail almost. They still had the whisker marks on their light tan skin, which made them look more adorable and exotic to the school's population. If Rias and Akeno were known as the two great Onosamas and Kaneko was the mascot of the school, then the twins were the vixens of the academy. Rias gave them a smile. "It's very much alright, just making sure you two were okay." The bell rang shortly after and they all got ready for class. Before Rias could return to her seat, the twins stopped her with really bright foxy grins on their faces. "Hey Rias, but did we ever tell you that our Ani-chan will be transferring to this school next week?" End. Chapter 2. Make a Mark Part 1. "So this mysterious brother of yours is finally coming to our academy?" Rias asked while sitting in her armchair. Shio and Mizo sat across from her on a couch as they spoke. Mizo chose to answer the questions for them. Ani-chan had been traveling the world for the past few years since he was 11 years old, so we only saw him on occasion since then. Since while skilled he was still a human, Abe-san felt that he would be better protected as well as enjoy life more if he got to see the world. So she sent members of our clan's Anbu guard to watch over him and teach him. It's harder to keep track of humans than it is almost any other race of beings after all. Rias nodded in thought. The Anbu guards of her clan, if she remembered right from what Shio told her in the past, were a group of select human magicians and shinobi who acted as the Kitsune clan's human eyes and ears across the world when the foxes weren't already involved themselves. The situation still sounded strange to her, but she supposed there must have been a good enough reason for the older sibling to go off traveling the world. And even if there wasn't, her interest had certainly been piqued to see the secret brother of two of her friends. They had first met years ago when they were around 12 years old. Apparently her brother had a meeting with the head of the Yakai faction, Yusaka. They had been able to create a local truce centered around the girls, with the conditions that the twins would be under the Gremory's protection while they attended the academy. Yusaka had other duties to take care of after all, as well as a young daughter of her own to take care of now. Knowing the political and social status of the girls, Urziches knew how serious to take this. Of course the level of protection was lax now since the girls were a lot more able, and at the level they were at now, if any stray supernatural beings did come into the area who were stronger than them, they would be sensed by all of them. These conditions were met, but Yusaka made it especially clear that they were to not be a part of a peerage. She did not want to just send her nieces of as anyone's servants. Though the Gremory family treated their peerage like family, that wasn't the point. At first the relationship between the girls was awkward as Rias didn't have many friends and had never met a kitsune, and the twins were cautious about without their brother for multiple reasons. Though eventually they warmed to each other and became fast friends. "So this brother of yours is normal?" Rias rose an eyebrow at this, somewhat disappointed though confused. It was very unlikely for a normal human to be born from supernatural beings. Even with one of the parents being human, with Yakai especially, it was near impossible. If she remembered right, they called it the Yakai effect with hybrids. No matter what the Yakai child is mixed with that Yakai blood, if it isn't potent at first, will become so over time, multiplying until they can be recognized as pure. That's why most Yakai are full blood and why their half-breeds have so much potential compared to hybrids from most other species. And with Yakai half-breeds, the other blood wasn't just cancelled out. It was like it was kept separate altogether. So while kitsune had human forms, half-breeds like Shio and Mizo's human forms will actually have their DNA read off as 100% human. Not all that important, but it does have some uses. In fact, it was believed to be the main reason why so many kitsune had human forms was because many of their ancestors had been half-breeds at some point. It was kinda unfair to the evolution balance to Rias, as that meant it was very hard for Yakai blood to become completely diluted, which means their population could always recover. Though the fact that most kept inside their species, it evened things out. But that meant that how this mystery sibling was human was an even bigger mystery to her. Something had to have been missed, maybe the twins just didn't know about it. Shio coughed into his hand. "I wouldn't say he's normal, just not like us." Rias was confused at this. "What do you mean?" Well, he wasn't born the same as we were. He has grown to excel at just about everything, but that's our Ani-chan. You could say it makes up for things." Interesting, but she was sure they were exaggerating some for their sibling. Monday morning. Mizo and Shio could be seen in their desks next to the window, chewing on their pencils in nervous anticipation. The bell rang for class, signaling its start, and everyone got in their seats. Rias whispered to Shio from behind her, "Wasn't your brother supposed to be arriving?" Shio whispered back to her, "I don't know, he is supposedly running late. He was supposed to come home over the weekend so they could spend time together, but he got delayed for whatever reason." They didn't hear much from their aunt, only that she had gone to get him from the airport this morning, so he might not even show up till tomorrow. 20 minutes later there was a knock on the door. The teacher went to the door and after a minute returned with a tall blonde male. The twins instantly perked up as they were able to recognize him instantly, but then sweat dropped afterwards. The boy stood at around 6 feet tall and had messy downward spikes of blonde hair that went down over his eyes. He had two black spikes of hair on top of his head that fell down sideways while the rest of his hair went down. On the lower half of his face that was visible you could make out whisker marks and a stupid smile. He wore the standard guy's blazer and dress shirt that was standard to the school open, exposing a purple shirt and an out-of-place orange tie that made Shio's brow twitch. It was out of place and she was pretty sure he knew this too and did it on purpose. Though the twins had to admit he grew up well. "Okay class, it looks like our expected new student has finally arrived. Young man, could you please introduce yourself to the class?" The blonde stood straight to the class and spoke in a not all their voice. "Heyo everyone. My name is Uzumaki Naruto and I am an artist." He swung his arms out, spread eagle at the last word for emphasis, and held it there until the teacher spoke up. Shio and Mizo felt like burying themselves in their desks from embarrassment. Shio facepalmed at the idea. So he's an artist now. What happened to rocket scientist years ago? Mizo was having thoughts of her own. I thought he wanted to be a famous ramen chef. Shio didn't know why, but at that moment she felt the need to deadpan over at her younger twin sister. The teacher coughed into her hand and read out some of the information she had been given on him. According to this, you are apparently the older sibling to our Mizo-san and Shio-san. This got gasp from the class and more of Ria's attention. This also says that by your grades and test scores that you have been given the spot of the number 1 student. Mizo and Shio smirked at this and from hearing the murmurs from the class. Rias however had her own thoughts. I have to say that is remarkable, but Sona-chan isn't going to like this. Though this boy certainly doesn't look like one who would have that kind of academic level. His grades would have had to basically been perfect for years to have been able to take that spot from her. The class suddenly broke out into chatter. I didn't know the Vixens had a brother. He's kinda cute. The blonde hair makes him look like a punk. His hair color kinda does resemble Mizo-chan's. The black onto makes him look kawaii like some kind of animal or dog. Right now another guy to attract all the attention. He has the kawaii whisker marks like the twins as well. Wow, he's kinda tall. Their brother must be some kind of genius to have grades that good. Where has he been all this time if he's their brother? He's so kawaii I can see another fan club brewing. He looks like an idiot. I ship Naruto x Kiba-kun. Naruto sweat dropped with his head down at all the comments. I had me associated with the word kawaii several times and am pretty sure I don't like that last one. The teacher coughed into her hand to get the attention back on her. Right, well Naruto-san, since you will be apparently holding so much status at our academy and have become a person of interest in such a short period of time, could you maybe tell us a bit more about yourself? Naruto signed to himself. Very well sensei. The twins, Rias, and a majority of the class caught how it was like how presence was changing. Naruto ran a hand back through his hair, spiking it up and exposing his deep blue eyes and slitted pupils. At the sight the girls in the class and even the teacher all blushed at his strong handsome features. Whereas before he looked good with his hair down, now it was like his sex appeal multiplied and his demeanor was a lot more serious. Like some kind of strong individual that demanded obedience and respect wherever he walked. The twins felt a foreign feeling stirring inside them at the change, while the class broke out into chatter again. Like Kami, he's hot. He actually looks like someone with good grades now. Yeah, but not with grades that good. That's still surprising. I think his face just made me pregnant. I wonder if he'll join our club. I have found my idol. Right now he will take even more of the ladies' attention for himself. I'm already wet. That hair spike move was kinda awesome. He is definitely going to be the dominant in my Naruto fanfiction. Oh my god, you girls are freaking nasty. Shio and Mizo bit their pencils in half on reflex at some of the things they heard, which Rias noted for later. Naruto let this go on for a little longer before he heard enough. Silence. It was a strong and firm command that made the class go silent and give him their undivided attention. He mentally flinched when he was certain he saw some of the girls blushing after the way he said that. Ignoring it, he continued. My name is Uzumaki Naruto and I am 17 years old. I am the other sibling of Shio and Mizo Uzumaki by 9 months and I am fluent in 5 different languages. I have been traveling the world and just came back from living in America. I have a photographic memory and the memory of an elephant. I am great at sports, music, academics, cooking, art, and have yet to find something I do poorly in. The answer to the problem on the board is SIN 53.325. I have no real interest in clubs and prefer to be left to my own devices. And if it wasn't clear yet, it will become so very soon that I have no problem showing off when I want to. That is all. That's all. Oh okay Naruto-san, well that's good, we didn't know we would be getting such a talented and cultured individual. Wait, that answer is right. How did you know the answer when I hadn't even finished putting it on the board, ignoring the fact that you should not have been able to do that complex of a problem that easily? I glanced at the open textbook on your desk and was able to figure out what problem you were likely working on. Oh well gee, good job Naruto-san. I hope you enjoy your time here in my class. You may take the set behind Mizo-san next to Rias-san. Naruto just nodded as he put his hands in his pockets and ignored the gazes of the classroom as he walked to the back near the windows where his seat was. As he walked down the row, he locked eyes with Mizo and Shio, who were second from the back. The girls froze and didn't know how to react under that kind of dominating gaze from his sharp blue eyes and subconsciously looked up at him in an almost submissive manner like they were in trouble for some reason. Their gaze stayed locked for a few seconds. After a few seconds, Naruto's spiked hair died back down to covering his eyes and next thing the girls knew they were pulled out of their desks into a bear hug. The girls were stunned at what was happening as they were shaken as Naruto rubbed his face into their chests, making the guys in the class extremely jealous. Oh my sweet little Amados. I've missed you two so much. Naruto paused with his face still in their chests and thought for a second. Well, you two aren't that little anymore now, are you? Realizing slowly what he just said, the girls' eyes widened and their faces turned red. How? Shio took a deep breath to cool her flushed face, as after she just punched Naruto's head into the ground. It's nice to see you too, Ani-sama. Mizo was too embarrassed and just covered her face with her hands. Rias just watched in amusement. But grew anxious when he directed his attention her. Naruto got off the ground and dusted himself off. He gave Rias a mockbow. Uzumaki, Naruto at your service. Please treat me well. Lunchtime. While the students were on their break, Naruto brought his stuff with him to lay against a tree in the grass with his eyes closed. He didn't show any reaction when he heard people approach him. Ani-sama, why didn't you wait for us? Naruto, without opening his eyes, could tell it was Mizo's voice. Which of course meant that Shio was next to her. Yawns, well, I guess I could have, but I knew you two would find me anyway. He heard shuffling before a meek voice. Are you mad at me for hitting you earlier, Ani-sama? This time it was Shio. Though their voices were near identical, he had no problems telling them apart. Naruto sat up and opened his eyes to look at them, though they still couldn't see his eyes because of the hair. Shio looked nervous that he was mad. What? No, why would I be mad? I did that on purpose. It's been years since the last time I was able to publicly embrace my cute Amatos. Ani-sama, that's mean. Mizo pouted at this while Shio gained a small smile. This was just like when they were younger. Guess he was still mostly the same. After a few moments, Naruto broke the silence again. By the way, Shio-chan, you are supposed to be the assertive twin. You can't have such a dark choice in underwear and then act bashful. I'm not being bashful. She paused for a few seconds before a dark blush rose on her face. Wait, how the hell do you know what I'm wearing? Mizo giggled at this. I know more about you two than you may think I do. The ominous tone he suddenly spoke in made them flinch as they suddenly grew very nervous. Well, what do you mean by that? Well, I am your brother after all. Kind of part of my job. I got something for you too. Now their nervousness was replaced with curiosity. When Naruto pulled out two orange fox plushes, that curiosity was replaced with nervousness again. As Naruto handed them to the twins who cautiously took them, Naruto gave him a questioning head tilt. You girls are the vixens, right? Both girls blurted out against their better wishes. What? That is your title at this school, right? The girls quickly schooled themselves and nodded with an awkward laugh. For a second they thought they saw Naruto grin. They hated that they could read him as well with his hair covering his eyes. Hi, that's what they call us, he. Shio rubbed her head nervously with a chuckle. After a few moments, Naruto laid back on the tree. I have to say, impressed. I've kept my tabs on you too, and you girls have come a long way while I was traveling the world. I can feel that you have become quite confident and independent. Plus you girls are tied for rank number 4 in your class. Well, it's number 5 now that I'm here, but still I'm proud of you too. I was already happy to be your brother when I left. Hearing how well you two did while I was gone made me even happier, and if anything served as motivation for me at times. He smiled to himself at the end. The girls blushed and looked bashful at the unexpected praise. Arigato, Ani-sama, but you are too kind. We just didn't want to fall too far behind you in your absence. And we wanted to keep you safe. Well, you two don't need to worry about that. They talked some more as the girls sat next to him to eat lunch. After a while the bell rang for them to return to class. Naruto got up with a stretch as his sisters followed behind him. Well, since you two got a title, it wouldn't be right if I, the older sibling, didn't have one of his own now, would it? The ever-cute Mizo tilted her head at him as they walked. What are you going to do then, Ani-sama? Naruto grinned himself as they re-entered the school building. He was aware that the whole time people were staring at him and talking. If they didn't know who he was, it wouldn't be long before they did. He would make sure of it. Oh, just a few things to submit my status at this academy. I feel like King has a nice ring to it, if there was an irony in that it was lost on him. Student council office. Two girls who could be seen playing chess suddenly sneezed. One was Rias Gremory, while the other was a slim attractive Meganeko with a stern expression. This glasses-wearing female went by the name Sana Shitori. Though right now she looked to be in a bad mood because she had just found out about a certain someone taking her spot at the top. Rias just had a small amused look on her face. She knew her old friend wouldn't accept it. All that she could do is see how the Meganeko would respond to being outranked. Physical education class. Naruto could be seen with the other guys stretching his arms while wearing a dark gray tracksuit with white accents, as was the uniform for the boys in gym. He was actually one of the few guys who were still wearing their tracksuit, as it was warm enough to be without it in just their shorts and shirts. He looked over towards the other side of the gym, where he looked eyes with his sisters for a second as they did stretches of their own. The girls went without their tracksuits and wore a white shirt with navy blue bloomers like the rest of the girls. He saw his sisters talking to two other girls. One he recognized as Rias from his home class, whereas the other. Hello. Naruto looked her over and saw that she was about the same height as his sisters at 5'6". She had extremely long black hair tied in a high ponytail by an orange ribbon, and went down her back with 2 strands sticking out on top of her head. Her figure gained his attention. Oh my god, that chest. Quickly, as she had a figure similar to his sisters and Ria's but had bigger breasts than all of them. As if sensing his gaze, she looked at him dead in the eye, catching him off guard. Especially since it was hard to even see his eyes through his hair up close, but she was a ways away. He was able to get a clear look at her violet, god I love that color, eyes as they had their short staring contest. She narrowed her eyes at him and gave him a small smile that caused him to narrow his, though it couldn't be seen, and grinned at her. She was setting off several warnings in his head that made him restless. Her name was Himejima Keno. As if she felt something off, Mizo looked up from her stretching. Keno-chan, are you okay? At that she broke eye contact with Naruto, and I smiled at Mizo. Ah Gomen Mizo-chan, it seems I got distracted. Your brother certainly seems like an interesting individual. She looked over at her brother, confused only to see him walking off with the other boys. Huh? Naruto took a breath and scratched his head. Why do I feel like I was just challenged somehow? Naruto was already sitting his mark in gym with everything they did. Push-ups, he did them one-handed and faster, so that by the end he did almost twice as much as everyone else. When they ran, he was faster and ran longer without any visible exhaustion. When they climbed the rope, he didn't use his legs to brace himself and did it in record time. This trend continued with everything. He sat out against the wall while the others played their sports activities. He felt something roll into his side and looked down to see a basketball. A menace, Uzumaki-senpai. The ball got away from us. He looked up to see a relatively normal yet cute flustered girl apologizing to him as she bowed. Naruto stood up with the ball and waved his hand. Yeah, it's alright, no have done, and you don't have to use my surname. He gave her a charming grin that made her blush. Hi Naruto-senpai, if that's what you want. Naruto looked up at the clock on the wall and saw it was about time to go change in the lockers. His grin showed his canines as his hair spiked up and parted enough to show one eye through the shadows of his hair. As if they felt it, his 2 sisters who were under the hoop at the other end of the court suddenly stood at attention when he looked at them. Hey, you wouldn't mind if I took a shot, would you? The girl grew even more frazzled at his suddenly wild presence. SSSS Shuriji go right ahead. She got confused as Naruto turned and walked towards the boys' locker room. Without missing a beat, Naruto tossed a ball behind him. Apparently most of the students in the gym had been watching him ever since he picked up the basketball, so they saw him when he threw the ball. All their eyes followed it as it flew through the air across the court, showing that Naruto had more strength in one arm than he appeared to. As the ball approached the hoop. Swish. It went straight through the net smoothly and dropped into Shio's hands, who was waiting right under the hoop. Everyone stood there surprised, silent for a moment. Shio nervously chuckled to herself. Hey Mizo-chan. Ni-chan. Are we sure that there isn't something about Ani-sama that we missed? I know what you mean. Hi, something just feels off. And what's with his hair? Rias stood with a kendo off to the side and giggled to herself. Naruto-kun, you certainly are an interesting person. End. Chapter 3. Make a Mark Part 2. Friday. Naruto casually walked to the sparring mat with a smirk as a large student crashed to the floor a second later. He picked up his notebook and checked it off. Well, that's the judo club down. The surrounding judo club members all stood in shock. Naruto had came in and challenging their best to a spare who was basically a giant, even compared to Naruto and their captain. It wasn't like Naruto wasn't polite with the challenge, but some of the guys saw this as a chance to cut the new pretty boy and future valedictorian down to size. As soon as the match started, the captain charged Naruto, intent on ending it quickly, while Naruto just sighed and walked calmly forward. When the captain was in arm's reach, the next moment was like a blur for the surrounding audience, as the next moment Naruto was still walking forward undeterred, but now the captain was behind him, upside down, falling through the air like he had been thrown. Somehow the giant was unconscious before he even hit the ground. Throughout the week, Naruto had certainly become a topic of discussion. He wanted to make his mark, and he was definitely following through on that, as he basically went on a dominance-proving spree every day that week. Naruto walked out of the clubroom going through his notebook. Well, that match was disappointing. I thought the judo club's best would be a lot more than just a little bit above amateur level. He probably wouldn't have won anyway, but still. Oh well, let's see what I have left. Just took care of the judo club. On good terms with the tennis club, though that Kiba felt weird to be around on good terms with the photo club and gave them pointers. Became an idol of the manga club without even doing anything. I hope I don't regret that. Played some songs at the music club and basically revered now, and I'm pretty sure I saw some cry. Sung a little for the choir club and made some quick, not my intention. The art club is basically a collection of my minions now. Student council. No need to go there, I let them come too. Occult research club. That sounds kind of interesting and different. I'll have to remember to check that out later. Apparently Rias-san is the president of that club. Naruto skimmed through his list on the other clubs he had also visited and are dominated in some way. He stopped at one name. Oh, a kendo club. And it's girls only. Alright, this will be the last one I check out for the week before I ease back. Yada. As usual, the op-eye of the girls at this school is top-notch. A boy with short brown hair exclaimed as he spied on the kendo girls from outside. This boy was Haidu Issei and possibly the most outwardly perverted boy at the school. His bald friend next to him nodded adamantly. Damn right. Everyone here is easily at least an 8. This boy went by the name Mitsuda. Him, Issei, and the glasses-wearing boy next to them named Motohama all made up the school's perverted trio or hentai sanin. Motohama pushed up his glasses and nodded. Yes, especially the Captain Murayama. From my 3 sizes scouter I can see that her measurements are B33W28H32 in. Of course that's just my guess. The 3 screamed in surprise at the voice and looked to the left to see Naruto to the side of them looking as well. Naruto waved at them with eyes covered and a stupid smile. Issei frantically pointed a finger at him. WH, what are you doing here? Our blonde just tilted his head confused. I'm here to watch, of course. The boy stood there in shock. Issei had tears of joy. Do you mean that the school's king is a pervert as well? There's hope for us. As the trio went into their own discussion, Naruto rubbed his chin and spoke to himself. So the title of king has already starting to take root, huh? Who's there? We heard shouting. The perverted trio paled in fear as the entire kendo club came out and glared menacingly at them. The captain looked at the 3 in disgust. She had brown hair and a nice figure. TCH, you 3 again. They started to shake as the girls brandished their bakken. There is no need to be upset. The girls looked to the side noticing Naruto for the first time, who just stood there smiling with his hands in his pockets. Uzumaki-senpai. What are you doing here? Please, just Naruto is fine. As to what I was doing, I was just having a friendly conversation with these 3. He gestured at the huddle bunch who looked at him like they might be saved from a beating. Senpai, you shouldn't associated with those 3. They are nothing but perverted lowlifes who will only make you look bad and were probably peeping on us before you got here. Naruto tilted his head in thought. You are probably right, they are lowlifes. The 3 crashed down at that in depression as the girls smirked as they prepared to beat them again. But the interjection caught their attention again. Naruto smirked at what he was about to do. With all the girls here, can you really blame them? I for one see nothing wrong with being a little perverted. Naruto-senpai, are you trying to say you are a pervert as well? Murayama clenched her bakken at the idea. Naruto walked towards them without a care of possible danger. And? If I was, I don't see what's so bad about this. It would just mean that I find some aspect of the girl in question appealing. Naruto ran his hand through his hair, spiking it upwards and showing his slit eyes, having only one sharp bang of hair falling forward. The girls all blushed at the sight. Even still, Murayama retorted. So that means you can't control yourself like some animal. She grew nervous as at that word he grew an animalistic grin as he kept walking towards her. An animal, you say? Well, animals tend to be good at what they do, so why not? How does that even help your argument? Answer this for me. She was surprised when he cupped her chin with a hand, not realizing he had already gotten that close. She blushed furiously at the action as his dominating gaze stared down at her, and she could see him looking her over, and yet she couldn't bring herself to move away like she was charmed. What are you doing? She squeaked out as the other blushing girls just watched like it was their favorite show. What would you rather? Having a pervert express himself every now and then, or having them lose control of their hormones and end up doing something they regret? Personally, I wouldn't mind indulging myself every now and then. Naruto's smirk widened a bit as she started to remind him of a mouse, as she blushed even harder when he moved his face closer. I don't see how either option is a GG good one. I don't see how anything good can come out of being a PP pervert. She stammered it out, which didn't help enforce her response at all. Naruto pushed it even more and whispered into her ear as she felt his hot breath. Give me some time and I'm sure I could change your mind. Her entire body went red hot at this, and he could have sworn he saw steam as she stammered like a maniac. In her mind she wanted to make a retort, but it was like her body was just daring to refuse him and suffer. Not knowing how to deal with the emotions, her legs gave out and she wobbled. Though his hair went back down to cover his eyes, he wasn't about to let his game end right there. He caught the girl as if to keep her from falling and gained an expression of confusion. Boy, are you alright? She was too weak to do anything about it as she basically held her in a pseudo-hug. He put his hand to her forehead as if to check for a fever and concerned. You're burning up. Do you have a fever? The close proximity of him dotting over her was what tipped her over as everything finally overwhelmed her and she started to faint. "Oh no, is everything alright?" The party looked to the side to see a boy with short blonde hair and a mole under his left eye walking towards them. Naruto straightened up and handed the dazed Murayama over to her friend Catus. The girls in the group shout out at the new arrival. "It's Kiba-kun." Naruto walked up to the fellow blonde. "Kiba-kun? As in Kiba-Udo? So you are the one who is considered the prince of the academy?" The now dubbed blonde rubbed his head bashfully at the title and gave an upbeat smile. "Hi senpai, I don't believe we have been probably introduced. I am Kiba-Udo, a second-year student. It's a pleasure to meet you Naruto senpai." He gave a small bow to Naruto at the end. Naruto did like way and smiled. "So you already know who I am?" "Hi senpai. Well, it's not like there are many students here with blonde hair. Also you have been making quite a name for yourself lately, so I would be lying if I said I wasn't curious about who you were." "Bukuku, well, I thought it was only right that I get a title as well if my little sisters had one. Especially since I'm at the top of the class. I guess you could say my competitive nature is showing strong that way." Udo chuckled at that. "Well, you have certainly made things interesting lately. So is that the reason you are here at the kendo club as well? I don't know how well it would go challenging an all-female club. Not to say that they aren't good, it just wouldn't look good for you." Kiba made sure to be careful about his wording so as to not come off as sexist. Naruto nodded his at this, having already thought of this. "Not really. I was just interested in what the kendo club was like. I had no intention of participating. I've had some experience with swords, so I was more interested in giving advice if I could." This caught Kiba's attention as he looked surprised. "You have experience in swordsmanship? Received enough to feel confident in advising others?" "Yeah, growing up I had time to learn how to use various weapons and blades. I had a talent in them, so I received training." "Multiple weapons. Now that was certainly an interesting note to save for later. Naruto senpai, if it wouldn't be too much, would you be interested in having a little skirmish? I come here every now and then to instruct the girls myself." Naruto grinned widely like a kid in a candy store. "Fun. I have no problems facing you if you aren't afraid to get hurt." The excitement in the tone threw Kiba off and yet reminded him of someone. Naruto coughed into his hand as he brought himself under control again. "Sorry, what I meant to say was if you think you are experienced enough then you don't have to worry about getting hurt." Kiba's sweat dropped at this while he followed Naruto into the clubhouse with the girls following behind them. There is still an underlining thread in that statement. "Sparring mat." The girls cheered as they stood off on the sidelines safely out of the way. "Oh my gosh. Two of the school's hottest guys are going to fight in our clubroom. It's the prince versus the school's number one." Naruto fingered the wooden sword in his hand and looked it up and down. It's been a bit since I've actually held a sword. Oh well, I don't forget things like this." "Naruto senpai, are you sure you don't want to wear the padding?" Kiba likely couldn't see Naruto's eyes sharpen at him because of the hair in the way. Naruto returned a smirk. "I hope you aren't taking me lightly. I was trained without padding so I never saw a need for it. What about you? You aren't wearing any either." Kiba just smiled. "I was trained the same way, believe it or not." "Really now?" The revived Murayama came up to referee the match. Though she looked a lot more shy and reserved now. "Ah no, how are you two going to pick the guidelines for this match?" "Well, I'm fine with setting the goal to 10 hits if that's okay with you senpai." Naruto nodded in agreement and gained a wild grin. 10 hits is a lot more than what is the standard of 2. If he's gonna push the rules we might as well drop the rest. Also, let's have it so anything goes to get those hits. Kiba rose an eyebrow at this. He can't mean does he want this to be like a real fight? "Very well senpai, if you are okay with that." Murayama nodded and stepped back to the edge, clear out of the way. She brought her hand down signaling the start. "Hajime." Neither moved as the both stood in their kendo stances of holding their bakken out in front of them. The simple smile never left Naruto's eye-covered face. After 10 seconds Naruto thrust his bakken forward at a great speed towards Kiba's midsection. Right when it looked like it would connect, Kiba seamlessly moved out of the way to Naruto's side. His eyes widened beneath his hair in surprise before he grunted as he felt the bamboo sword connect with his left arm. He jumped back and shook his arm. "That's 1 point for Kiba-kun," he heard Murayama speak out from the sidelines, causing some of the girls to chatter quietly amongst themselves. That was a quick hit. I didn't even catch it." Well then, Naruto refocused and held his bakken. After a few seconds Kiba went on the offensive and dashed at him. This time he thrust at him as well for a long stab. Right before it could hit, Naruto smoothly slid out of the way into his blind spot. Kiba's eyes widened in shock at this. Did he just imitate me? He pivoted on his feet and spun to block Naruto's strike, locking bakken. "Sorry senpai, but my moves won't woke on me that easily." Naruto's smile widened at this. "Oh, that's great. That means you have trained well." Naruto suddenly stepped back before jumping forward, catching Kiba off balance. He swung in a wide arc, catching Kiba in his side hard. Ah! Kiba inwardly grunted from the stinging hit. Before Naruto could complete the momentum of the swing, Kiba swung down, catching Naruto's arm again. Naruto jumped back to gain space again, but his non-visible eyes widened in shock as Kiba had followed him back. Waga! Naruto had the wind knocked out of him as Kiba thrust the sword into his torso. The blow sent him staggering back as he fell to a knee and coughed. What was that? That would have been a kill move had that been a sharp weapon. That's 3 points Kiba-kun, 1 point Naruto-kun. Senpai, are you okay? I didn't hit you too hard, did I? There was some about that question that made something in Naruto snap. Haha, you're looking down on me. He stood up and cracked his neck with a wild grin on his face, showing his canines. Kiba went alert as it felt like there was a shift in the air. Naruto's hair, as if it had a mind of his own, spiked up until it revealed one eye through the shadows, locked onto Kiba with a predatory gaze. The sight made him anxious, but he was confused when Naruto dropped his guard and just walked towards him. Senpai. He stopped himself and had quickly leaned back when Naruto suddenly sent a palm strike out at him, like he was trying to grab his face. It had enough force in it for the younger blonde to feel the wind it created as it blew his hair up from just being near it. The second year jumped back to gain space. Naruto-senpai, what are you doing? Naruto just swayed unconcerned. We can do whatever we want to score a hit, remember? That includes the use of our bodies. As soon as he finished, Naruto dashed forward. Kiba prepared to make a wide slash, but stumbled when Naruto was in striking range. He ducked. What? Kiba was only able to glance down at the crouched Naruto. As soon as he saw his face, Kiba flinched as he saw Naruto's eye glow through the shadows. His sense told him that Naruto was about to rise up and so continued his wide slash, only to hit nothing. His eyes widened at the shock of the complete miss. What? Snap, he grimaced as he felt a Bakken hit under his outstretched arm, making him drop the sword before he coughed out as he felt a foot impact on his stomach, kicking him away. Naruto had twisted into a one-handed handstand to kick him after he had been unarmed in a custom monkey flip. Naruto stood back up with an excited look. That's 3 points Kiba-kun, 3 points Naruto-kun, announced Murayama as the girl's chatter became more animated. Naruto tossed Kiba the Bakken he had dropped, who caught it easily. Naruto ran at him again and threw his sword straight at Kiba like a javelin, which caught him off guard at that distance and hit his shoulder with a grunt. Just that fast, Naruto grabbed it out of the air and swung in reverse to get a rising strike at his chest, which the second year was able to block barely. Naruto kept his swings up with a wild pace that Kiba was able to keep up with. Each time he was blocked, Naruto got more and more into hit. Hahaha. It's been a while since I've been able to cut loose. Come on, Kiba-chan. Move faster. Hit me harder. He felt his Bakken start to take damage as the hits progressively became harder, making his hands numb. He was sure it would be gaining cracks soon. He tried to get in hits in between the blocks, but it was like Naruto was moving faster than before and reading his movements. Whenever Kiba would slash or thrust his Bakken at Naruto, he would spin out of the way or lean at risky angles to avoid the attacks without needing to block or put too much distance between them. All the while through the entire assault, Naruto spoke out eccentrically. Come on, Prince. Defeating you will help me become the king of the school, but I will become a monster if I have to, and do it with a sadistic smile. All the while Kiba was trying to keep his nerves down. What's gotten into him? This way of fighting isn't normal. Kiba, deciding to take a page from Naruto's book, moved back suddenly while they were locked, causing Naruto to lose his footing. Kiba acted on the opportunity of his misplaced footing and swung at his outplaced leg, causing him to trip and fall. Right when Kiba was about to pursue our falling protagonist with a downward slash, he heard him say, "Bad move." Everyone's eyes widened when Naruto twisted in the air, catching himself into a handstand with one arm again and caught the enemy Bakken between his feet. Kiba this time couldn't help but say it verbally. What? Ah yes. That's the spirit. Naruto pivoted on his hand so that he threw Kiba's arms off balance with his feet in a way that resembled the air flares of break dancers. He gritted his teeth as he felt Naruto's Bakken spin into his thigh hard, who had gone down into doing windmills on the ground. Kiba brought his sword down on Naruto but missed as he popped off the ground out of the way. Kiba continued with a forward thrust at Naruto's facing back, but our blonde quickly spun around to knock the blade away. That's 4 points Kiba-kun and 6 points Naruto-kun. Mireya was shocked at the acrobatic display she just saw from Naruto. Naruto swung the Bakken around in his hand casually as he smiled at Kiba through the wild look, never left his one showing slitted eye. Well, Kiba-kohai, it's been fun, but it's time for me to end this. Naruto dashed straight at Kiba, but he timed his counter perfectly and his slash hit right at the side of Naruto's arm. Naruto spun with a blow despite how solid it was and got into Kiba's personal space. The next second Kiba's eyes bulged out as he had the wind knocked out of him heavily as Naruto brought his Bakken in with a hard blow diagonally at Kiba's midsection. Before he could recover he heard Naruto speak into his ear from behind. Sometimes you have to take an attack to return a much greater one. Kiba clenched his stomach in pain but still swung widely behind him with his sword-wielding arm at where he felt Naruto was only to end up hitting air. Heard Naruto behind him again. Good match. I'll take my win now. Kiba swung back around only to hit nothing again. The next second he felt a Bakken knock his feet out from under him and his shirt pulled back making him fall back and his world turn upside down. Less than a moment later he felt a rising slash at the middle of his back with enough force to knock him up in the air a little higher. He was only able to catch the sight of Naruto spinning near him as the third year had jumped up into a side flip before Kiba felt the hardest blow yet swing straight down at his midsection with a crack that sent a ripple to the body and carried him down to the floor like a meteor. Crack. Kiba lay there stunned on the ground. DTH that's 5 points Kiba-kun and 10 points Naruto-kun. The match goes to Naruto-kun. Naruto stood up straight again and calmed down as his hair went back to normal and covered his eyes. After a few moments of silence the clubroom erupted into applause and excitement from the girls. Naruto just chuckled too before noticing his hand felt kind of light and looked down. He paled when he saw that the Bakken was broken off at the hilt and that its pieces were scattered on the ground. Kiba-san, are you alright? He ran over to him and helped him get up. He looked shaken but surprisingly okay relatively. Sorry I got a little too into it. 20 minutes later. Naruto could be seen walking out of the clubroom and heading off the school grounds. As he was near the gate he suddenly turned around and waved over at a window before continuing on his way. Up in the window a red-eyed girl watched with an intrigued look on her face. It was Rias, Gremory, Naruto and the twins' classmate. The twins' brother certainly is something else, isn't he, Akeno-chan? Her friend who stood off to the side nodded with a small smile on her face. Has Buichu become interested in a boy? If it's Naruto-kun then you might have to get an line. Who wouldn't be interested? He beat my knight in his own specialty. Granted Kiba held back in his physical abilities but I'm still pretty sure Naruto outclassed him in skill alone. Naruto walked through a park on his way home while enjoying the peace. He looked to the side over towards the fountain and saw two people together. He recognized the boy as the brown-haired one he talked to earlier. Is that to say? And he's talking to a girl. He noted that for later and continued on his way. End. Chapter 4. Awakening. Saturday. Yawn. Shio yawned as rose out of bed as the first rays of sunlight came in through the curtains of her room. As the sheets fell off of her you could see her sleepwear. It really only consisted of a large red t-shirt. She looked to the side of her at the lump in her bed and threw off the covers. She smiled lightly when she saw Mizo sleeping next to her snuggled up in a ball like a baby. The scene was so adorable to her and she had made sure to take pictures for MEMORABLE blackmail reasons. Mizo had a more modest choice of sleepwear compared to Mizo basically being half-dressed. Hers consisted of a violet buttoned-up pajama top and bottoms. Though she looked more innocent than her older twin, the fact that her top had a few buttons undone to expose a little of her chest would probably make some random person question her intentions. Shio didn't really care as both their sleepwear was tighter over their chests, which was understandable since they were both probably the third most endowed girls at the academy. She was also used to sleeping with her sister for years. Sure, Mizo had her own room, but they still slept together often, a habit from their childhood. Both of them with their hair undone had it go down to the small of their backs. Shio got out of the bed and stretched her limbs letting her fox features and tail show. They were a little stiff as they didn't like to keep them hidden for so long, but they chose to keep their brother from finding out when they were sleeping. She rubbed her younger sister's shoulder to get her awake. Come on Mizo-chan, it's training day now, get up. Mizo groaned and just snuggled deeper ignoring her. Shio sighed and got back on the bed. She stood over her sister and kicked her off. Get up. The younger blonde sister whimpered but got up nonetheless after that. Basement. The girls were walked down the steps towards the training room. Yusaka had given them a pretty big house to live at. It was more compared to an upper middle class home or a small mansion, if you wanted to call it that. It had more than enough bedrooms with both the girls and Naruto's being equal to that of your average master-sized bedroom with Western king-sized beds. More than they needed but their lazy aspects of their animal natures would take advantage of the luxuries. The home also had 2 large entertainment rooms, the equivalent of a small theater room and a large kitchen. Yep, definitely more than they needed. It was like it was their aunt's goal to spoil them hard. Luckily it didn't work too well. There was also a nice-sized pool in the back that they would make use of. What made the house even more unique was what was below the ground. Down in the basement was a custom training room with all the equipment they could need to keep their strength up or spar if they wanted to. Now we are going to warm up and then do our regular sparring matches like usual. As they opened the door to the room they froze as there was someone already there. This started at the one who was holding himself in a one-armed handstand. From the blonde hair and scent they already knew it was Naruto. He looked to be holding himself halfway through a one-armed handstand push-up. He held it for a minute before going all the way down and holding it for a minute and then going back up. The girls were surprised by the level of exercise their brother was doing as they didn't think that he was strong enough to do that. They never thought he was weak, but that kind of exercise, to do it with such ease and that period of time was not something a human could achieve easily. It took a lot of work. Or rather they thought of that at first, but then got distracted by the fact that he was only wearing sweatpants. They were able to look at his back and the toned muscles of it to his shoulder blades all the way to his arms as they flexed and tensed with his push-ups. They heard Naruto grunt 50 as he dropped down to his feet. This snapped the girls out of it and they hurriedly hid their fox features forgetting they were still up. As Naruto stood back up he smiled when he noticed his sisters there. Well, good morning Amados. As he straightened his body his hair stayed spiked out of the ways of his eyes as if it was as primed as his body was after the workout. The girls blushed when they saw how toned his body was. They watched mesmerized as a bead of sweat dripped down his chest and curved with the contour of his pecs before going down the ridges of his developed abs. Well, if you girls are here to use the room I'm pretty much done now if you wanted privacy. He went to the side to grab a towel. He wiped his face and arms with it before throwing it around his neck. Shio regained her focus and stopped staring and discreetly pinched her twin who was still in her own world. "Oh Oni-sama, why are you here?" Naruto quirked his eyebrow at this. "What do you mean why? You should know what a person's reasons usually are for entering a workout room." "That's not what I meant. I meant how did you know about this room? It has a seal on it. He shouldn't even be able to see the door to it." "Oh no, it's just in the basement. Not that hard to find it and Abe-san told me about it so that I could exercise." The twins mentally deadpanned sharing a similar thought. Why? They could just picture Yusaka laughing at them like she was pranking them. This just made their job harder to keep their kitsune natures hidden from him. It's like their aunt wanted them to get caught. They came out of their thoughts at Naruto's voice. Though I have to wonder what our aunt was thinking. Some of these things are unnecessary. He motioned to the weights, specifically the dumbbells which went from 10 pounds to 300 pounds. Where does she even get some of these? These are too much for you girls. Shio thought to herself. That may be Naruto and Aichin, but we are stronger than we look. I'm sure she got those weights with the idea of you using them in mind. Guys like it when you comment on their strength, right? He's not strong enough for higher weights, but hopefully the compliment will distract him. Naruto absently took the statement to heart and didn't react to the compliment hidden in it. That maybe he walked over to the higher weights and easily picked up a 200 pounds dumbbell, causing their eyes to bulge. He did a few reps with the weight in one arm before putting it back. Yeah, I guess these have some uses though I can't go much further than that. He looked back at the girls and looked confused at their faces. What? Mizo nervously chuckled. Why, you're just a lot stronger than you look, Oni-sama. That is about the same weights we use. Naruto grinned and rubbed the back of his head. Yeah, well, I always worked out and exercised while I was traveling. Naruto walked towards a closet and opened it before the girls could stop him. It was filled with a variety of weapons. Though this is kind of cool. Why would she give us an assortment of dangerous weapons like these? The closet was filled with a variety of real weapons. All kinds of blades, swords, blunt weapons. Assortment was definitely the right word to use. Naruto took out a large scythe that made the girls nervous. That weapon was more dangerous than he thought it was. And maybe she wanted us to have a hobby. Shio spoke nervously hoping he would buy it. Luckily Naruto did with a grunt and then started spinning the scythe around with surprising efficiency, causing the girls to silently panic. After a few seconds he stopped and put it back in the closet. He walked by them and absently glanced at what they were wearing. What is that, yoga shorts and a yukata top? He noticed how it exposed a little of their chests. Nice. Cool. Well, anyway, I'm going to go wash up. Breakfast will be ready in an hour. He walked past the men out the door before closing it and heading back to the normal floor. They looked at the door he went out of and after a few moments the girls let out a breath they didn't know they had been holding. Vroom, they squeaked in surprise at the noise and turned around. They paled when they saw several cuts suddenly show up across the room and a nearby punching bag split in half. After a few moments Shio spoke out seriously. Mizo-chan. Heini-chan. We need to call up Yusaka Abe-san. Something doesn't feel right. I feel like we're being pranked. Heini-chan. Hour later, play Naruto main theme. The girls finished their short exercise they had and after bathing followed the sound of the music to the kitchen. They saw Naruto humming to himself at the stove while fixing pancakes. He had also fixed eggs and bacon along with toast and rice ready. Only problem with it was how he was dressed. Shio's face twitched with a blush when she saw Naruto was just wear shorts and an apron. No shirt or anything else. Naruto looked back over them with a cheery smile, his hair going back down over his eyes. Hold on, the food is almost done. With all that drool, you girls must be hungry. The twins looked at each other before blushing heatedly and wiping their mouths. Naruto turned back towards the food and gained an evil shit-eating grin that they couldn't see as his face went dark. I am having too much fun with this. Naruto fixed their plates and sat it on the table for them to eat. Naruto took his apron off and having nothing better to do just sat on the counter and watched them. The girls bashfully ate their food, too embarrassed at the moment to look up at him. Shio was stuck in her own thoughts. Why is he getting to us so easily? He's just our older brother. Sure, he's grown up well, looks like a man, and can break rocks with his chest. No. Bad thoughts, bad thoughts, bad thoughts. I should have no problems being able to look at the half-naked body of Miss Sibling. And of course Mizo was having similar thoughts as her twin. Sama looks delicious. I mean, he tastes delicious. I mean, the food tastes delicious. That's what I meant, damn it. Naruto just smirked lightly to himself as he noticed the girls slow down their eating and saw their cheeks redden. He wasn't sure why that was, but it still amused him. You girls not like the food? The twins shot out of their thoughts, almost choking on their food, and stuttered out at the same time. And no, it's good eep. They lost their voices at the end, which they mentally cursed at. Reason being, as soon as they lifted their heads, Naruto was cracking his fingers. Now this wasn't a problem, it was the fact that with each crack, he flexed his pecs at the same time to match it, catching them off guard as they stared longer than they should have before forcing their heads back down to look at their food. When Mizo finally finished eating, she flinched when she felt someone grab her. Her entire body went red when her face was in Naruto's chest, fully able to feel the heat off his skin. Tata, she stuttered hard, unable to form a coherent sentence. Naruto swung her from side to side in a hug as she got dizzy. Oh, you're so cute when you're shy. I could just eat you up. Naruto stopped shaking her as his hair spiked enough to show one eye and whispered into her ear in a slight tone. You know, with how you've grown, I wouldn't mind not being your brother for a night, Mikoi. Mizo let out a high squeak before she passed out, overwhelmed, her eyes looking like swirls and her face flushed. Naruto chuckled maliciously to himself as he let her down. I knew it, Kukuku. He looked at the seat next to her and seeing that Shio was gone. She left her younger twin here and ran away. His grin got even wider. You can hide all you want, Shio, but I will find you. He shouted with his voice echoing throughout the house. For the next while, screams could be heard. Outside the house. People outside the home looked at the house as they walked by in curiosity at hearing all the noise. They could hear thumping noises and the sound of dishes breaking. Naruto, leave me alone. Haha, come on, I just want a hug. You're lying. You don't trust me? Fine, then put some clothes on first, damn it. It went silent in the house as people watched on confused until they heard a feminine scream again. Oh god, why do you have a sponge? After that, all most of what was said for a while was just screams and Naruto's laughter that bordered on insanity. People outside talked with themselves on the matter. Should we call the cops? Mommy, what's in that house? It sounds like fun. Just ignore it and keep walking, sweetie. End theme. Next Friday. Shio-chan. Mizo-chan. I'm going out again. Assuming they heard him, he left out the door into the night. He had been doing this fairly often on the whims of his instinct since he came back to Japan the past few weeks to just roam the town at night, whether just running around or going with a purpose. He liked the open air and loved seeing what was going on. He also found looking at the night sky and moon relaxing. He was never gone for much longer than an hour, so it's not like his sisters got too worried. His night gear was all black pants, shirt, and hoodie. Not a good color to wear too much of at night for multiple reasons, but he liked it. He walked down the streets with his hood up, going by groups of people relatively unnoticed. There were people standing outside their homes, walking to place to eat, or even just out to socialize. He walked by the small streets and through alleys at a sedated pace until he made it to a public park. He sat down on a bench for a while and watched the sunset the rest of the way, enjoying the peace. He smiled at how nice it felt. Why do I feel like this is just a calm before a storm kind of situation? He noticed a stray dog go by and whistled to it to make it come over. The dog looked rough but became instantly friendly towards Naruto and came to him obediently. Naruto pet it and rubbed its head for a while as its tail wagged back and forth, happy to get a rare dose of attention. After a while, the dog laid on the bench next to Naruto, enjoying the company, and they both sat there in peace. After a few minutes, the dog lifted its head up and growled in the direction of the fountain, gaining Naruto's attention. He looked over in that direction and saw two people standing next to the fountain. He got surprised when he recognized them. Is that Issei? And he's with that girl again? They were a bit away out of earshot as he went over to them just to be nosy. As he got close, something told him to walk a little faster as he watched them. And a little more faster. And then running. Then when he saw black wings come out of the girl's back he was full on sprinting faster than he should have been able to run. What the hell? At the fountain. An attractive girl with long black hair and violet eyes stood in front of Issei at the fountain. In honor of our first date there is something I would like for you to do for me to commemorate this special moment. Issei blushed at the possible implications of that wish. Sure you can ask me for anything at all. She gave him a cheery smile as black wings came out of her back. Could you please die for me? Issei nervously took a step back not sure what to make of it. I said could you please die. The girl's clothes changed into a bunch of straps as her outfit, holding her breasts and forming a thong as it wrapped around her body. What's going on Yuma? I have to admit I had some fun today despite how naive and perverted you are. It could have been much worse, but even so it's time to die. She formed a magenta spear of light and threw it right at Issei who was too frozen in fear to run away. Right when he was about to be impaled he felt a force tackle him from the side and into the ground. He grunted out as he looked around. Looking up he saw a figure in all black clothing crouched over him, but noticed the blonde hair even in the falling light of nighttime. Sorry but as the top student at Kuo Academy, I can't allow my fellow underclassmen to do anything endangering or illegal while I'm around. And if I heard right, I'm pretty sure dying counts. Naruto-senpai. The blonde gave a smile at him. Well Issei I had heard you got a girlfriend, but it seems like she was overhyped huh? Boy who are you to interrupt our date? Naruto's smile shrunk a little as he stood up to face her. I'm gonna say two things to that. 1, you don't look much older than me if at all, so don't talk down to me. And 2, when you are trying to kill the other I'm pretty sure that means the date is over bird lady. I'm not a bird human I'm a fallen angel. She formed another spear in her hand making Naruto wary. Well I guess that explains the erotic outfit and the weapon. I guess that also means you're way older than me too. A tick mark appeared on her head at the last remark causing Naruto to sweat and step back. Issei you should run while you can. The brown-haired teen was about to do just that before he saw Naruto's back. Wait Naruto-senpai your back is bleeding. Yes that spear from earlier nicked me. Don't worry about it just go. But. They were cut off by the fallen's voice. It's a great idea, but I'm afraid I can't let you leave Issei-kun. Maybe your cute blonde friend if I feel like it I'll let him live after I've had some fun with him, but you still need to die. And my real name is Rainer not Yuma. Naruto just offhandedly pointed back at her. All that you just said. I'm not sure how I feel about that. But I can't let you kill him. The fallen angel just gave a malicious smile at them. Such a shame. If you want to protect him so bad I guess you will have to die trying. She chucked a spear at Issei's chest, but Naruto pulled him out of his way by his shirt before it could get him. As if finally taking the situation seriously his hair spiked up so that both his slitted eyes could glare at Issei. Move. That did the trick as Issei scrambled to run away from the area without argument. Nice try. That instant Naruto's eyes widened. As soon as he turned around to face her he saw a spear heading straight for his face and leaned back out of the way to avoid it. It was only right when he did it did he realize his mistake. Shink. Pupils dilated as he saw Issei impaled through the back with the spear. The boy was only able to grunt out in pain before he fell over dead. Ha you suck at protecting little boy. Tell you what, to make it up to you for impaling your little friend, how about I let you impale me? She formed another spear of light and licked it erotically. I will impale your face on a lamppost. Naruto almost snarled out as his face twitched in anger. Rainer blinked at this. Well that's not very nice. Naruto whipped out 2 kitchen knives and ran at her at a fast speed as he roared. She blocked them with her spear showing some surprise. Why the hell is a kid walking around at night with knives? A Cheshire cat-like grin grew on her face showing off her sharp canines when she got a close look at his face. Wait a minute blonde hair, sexy face, cute whisker marks, and the boy said Naruto. You're that Uzumaki character that Azazel-sama said to watch out for, but I don't see what's so dangerous about you. Naruto's face went blank for a second before smiling. She gasped in surprise when she suddenly felt a knee in her gut making her drop her guard. She tried to jump away as Naruto used the opportunity to slice with his knives rapidly, leaving multiple cuts bleeding on her. She now grew angered at the situation. How dare you fly the mortal draw my blood? To think a thing happened is such a disgrace. She flew at him with rage and swung her spear making Naruto shocked when it cut cleanly through his knives leaving hot metal. She swung it wildly as he chased him through the park making him trip and stumble over various obstacles in his path. It was only thanks to his agility and reflexes that he was able to keep dodging despite this. It had gone on for a good 5 minutes and Naruto's clothes and skin had cuts on it where the spear had gotten too close. Right when they were back at the fountain Naruto took a gamble and suddenly jumped towards her kick her hard in her stomach making her stumble back before she grew even angrier. She flew up and formed another spear of magenta light. I'm tired of this game. She hurled the spear like a javelin right down at him, which he was easily able to dodge. However, he cursed as right when it hit the ground before his feet it exploded, sending him flying. With his skill he was able to right himself in the air and land on his feet. However, as soon as he did, shink. He coughed up blood as a spear ran all the way through his chest, making him fall against a tree that was behind him. At home, Shio was watching on the couch with Mizo basically having a lazy Friday doing nothing. All of a sudden their fox ears shot up and they went alert. Something's not right. Mizo, where is Naruto? The younger twin, looking just as serious as her sister, responded swiftly. He said he was going out again. He's been gone for over almost 2 hours now. Shio got off the couch and headed towards the door to the outside. Mizo, come on, we are going to find Oni-sama. I have a bad feeling. Back in the park. Naruto's body laid against the tree as his life fluid spilled out along the trunk and ground. Rainer smirked at his situation, enjoying his fate as she stood in front of him. I have to admit you put up a good fight for a dirty human, but in the end it was pointless. If you had stayed out of others' business and worried about yourself, you would have probably lived a little longer. She turned to walk off and leave him, but after a few steps something told her to look back. CRNNCH. She blinked as Naruto was suddenly in midair in front of her with his arms loosely crossed. He had broken her arm, twisting it around at the bone itself. Arg. She screamed out in pain as her blood out from the torn skin on the twisted limb. Her face turned to a look of outrage as she made a clutching motion at Naruto and pulled out the spear lodged in his chest with an invisible force. Why don't you learn to stay down, you fucking worm? Even more of Naruto's blood splashed out of the now open wound as he stood there unresponsive, his body swaying with his arms twitching. His face was unreadable as it was shadowed by his matted hair as blood dribbled down his chin. Something about him was starting to make her nervous. It's time you learned to stay dead. She pulled her arm back to throw the spear back at his head. Right when the weapon was about to leave her hand, she froze. At that exact moment the blonde's hair spiked up till one eye glowed wide ominously through the shadows, staring right at her. She felt a presence she was not familiar with and it unnerved. This feeling. It's not pure human or even devil. It even feels like her eyes shook with fear at the end. What are you? She flinched when Naruto fell over headfirst into the ground. Taking that as her cue, she recovered her nerves and flew off as fast as she could. Naruto was left there to bleed out on the cool ground of the park. After a few minutes a choked cough could be heard and Naruto turned over on his back. Cough, well, I fucked up again. He looked up at the moon in the night sky, forgetting the pain he was in. I'm pretty sure this has happened before. Oh well, I don't plan on dying here. He noticed a red light to the side of him and a person approached him. How badly do you want to live, Naruto-kun? Naruto looked up and saw a familiar face that he had gotten used to recently. Oh, it's that retard with the giant gazongas from my class. Rias. What the hell are you? How badly do you want to live, Naruto? She asked a question again more seriously. I can't die yet and have no plans on doing so anytime soon. Good answer, Naruto-kun. She took out a red chest piece and brought it towards his chest. Wait, Rias, what are you doing? I think your sisters would hate me if I didn't try to save you. What do you mean save me? I will heal on my own. Don't worry, you will be able to take a lot more damage as a devil. Are you listening to me? I don't need you to save me. Be reborn as my servant and as a devil of the Gremory household. Hold on, servant. I hope you enjoy your new life as my pawn. God damn it, woman, arg. Naruto screamed in pain as the chest piece entered his chest through the tears in his clothes with a flash of light. After the light died, blood exploded out of Naruto's mouth and his body went lifeless. Rias, seeing this, grew very worried and checked for a pulse. What happened? He should have been revived. I can't feel his pulse or energy or anything. Just at that moment Rias cursed her luck as the people she least wanted to see this jumped into view. It was none other than the Fox twins. Right at that arrival, Shio was able to take in the scene fully and froze up at what she saw. Mizo, however, didn't read the situation as fast. Rias-chan, we're looking for Naruto and Ayasama, have you seen him? Mizo's voice died down towards the end when she finally noticed who Rias was over. Seeing Naruto's stiff form and Rias' hands covered in his blood, Mizo went silent, making Shio alert. The next second. I'm gonna kill you, bitch. Mizo's went feral as her eyes slitted. Her hair became wilder, her nails and canines lengthened and tribal marking appeared over her skin. Her tail flared wildly as a dark magenta aura engulfed her body. Boom. The ground cracked and cratered in front of Rias. Her eyes widened in shock at the speed Mizo moved. The only reason she was relatively unscathed was because Shio had somehow intercepted Mizo and blocked her, having changed the same way as her sister, but with a dark red aura. Ria's voice came out meekly as she spoke, Shio. She was cowed by the dark look Shio shot down at her, which was emphasized by her current feral appearance. Shio held Mizo back behind her as her feet dug deeply into the broken ground. You are so lucky I'm still faster than her and the more rational one, so if I were you, I would start talking about what happened Gremory before my hand slips. Rias spoke frantically due to the situation and her own worry. I don't know what happened. I tried to turn Naruto into a devil, but… What? He had gotten into a fight with a fallen angel. He had decided to stand up for another target of mine, which made him a target of the fallen angel. I stayed out of it because I was trying to keep my status of a devil a secret like you would have preferred. He put up a good fight and even did some damage, but ultimately took a lethal blow in the end. Afterwards I tried to save him by restoring him as a devil, but something went wrong. I'm so sorry. She was almost crying by the end as she bowed her head. Mizo's body lost its strength and she fell to her knees shaking in fear. Shio stumbled back a few steps as she held her head. So why you mean to tell me that Oni-sama is the… Abump. They went silent as they heard the beat. And then they heard another, and pretty soon it was with a rapid rhythm as they looked at Naruto's body. His skin rippled as veins bulged throughout his body. His muscles convulsed as the beat got faster. It sped up more and more as his body started to flail on the ground before it glowed and there was an explosion. The force knocked the girl several meters away with a flash of red breaking the ground. When the dust cleared they saw Naruto. He started growling as dark gray fur started to cover his body. His eyes went all wide as body mass grew up by a few feet and his limbs morphed. A large black fox-like tail shot out of his tailbone with a white tip and matching ears. Most of his clothes were in rags with his pants barely holding on. What he resembled now was a large bipedal canine-like beast, and… think like Kurama's body but more masculine looking like a wolf. Shio unsure of what to make of this shakily asked out and Naruto and Isama. Is that you? Ayuo? They grabbed their ears as the beast let out a loud powerful roar that was sure to gain attention. The force of it was strong enough to make them slide back a few feet as shockwaves of wind went by. Rias, what did you do? I already told you. I thought you said Naruto was human. We thought so too. She saw Naruto turn around and saw a large X on his back, causing her eyes to narrow. Is that a seal? She saw him start to run off. Don't let him leave the park. They then proceeded to chase after him with Rias releasing her wings and taking off to the sky. Naruto was running on all fours heading to a gate when he suddenly stopped as a red and black ball of energy came down in front of him and exploded. The beast looked up and growled at the suspected Redeed floating above. Sorry Naruto-kun, but I can't allow you to leave just yet. She gasped when Naruto suddenly jumped up at her. That's high. She coughed out when she was headbutted in the gut and knocked away. He landed back on the ground ready to run off again when Mizo and Shio suddenly appeared on both sides of him, ready to block him off. Mizo looked nervous at the change that had happened to her brother and didn't want to hurt him. And Isama, please come to your senses. She flinched when Naruto suddenly got in front of her while her guard was down. She squeaked when the wild creature started sniffing her body and face like a dog. She blinked when he left a large wet lick along the side of her face, slicking her hair to one side before running off again. Jing Naruto's flee was halted as his torso was suddenly wrapped in a large chain wrapped around his torso. He looked and saw that it had grown out of Shio's hand. Mizo, hurry up and help me restrain him. Hi. Mizo ran up and shot a chain out of her hand as well, further binding him before he could run off making him growl out. Rias flew in above him forming a spell circle. Girls, hold him there, I'm going to put him to sleep. What? You can't kill him. I meant in the nap time way, not the euthanize way. The white ball shot out of Ria's hands and into Naruto's head and he stood there. After a few seconds Shio quirked an eyebrow at this. Well. Wow. Naruto started forcing the chains apart from him with pure physical strength. Rias, why isn't he sleeping? Apparently he's been unconscious this whole time. Two black appendages shot out of the beast's lower back and Naruto shot high up into the air escaping the chains. He went high up into the sky in front of the moon and then out of nowhere was struck by lightning and hurtled all the way back into the ground, crashing though it with a groan. Rias smiled. Great timing as always, Akeno. I didn't know you had a dog, Shio and Mizo-chan. He's not a dog, he's Naruto. Naruto howled again and the ground blew up off him as he stood up again. Akeno stared at the creature before looking back at Shio. That looks like a dog to me. Rias spoke up from the side, it's a long story. She looked at the new limbs on his back. Well, I guess those wings prove his new devil blood, but they look different. They don't look like they are meant for flying, but I guess they get the job done. But if the devil blood has taken root then I should be able to control him, right? She didn't like using that aspect of the devil pieces, but she would make an exception right now. She pointed her hand out at Naruto which glowed red and Naruto's body gained a similar glow. Submit, Rias barked out her order to Naruto for him to comply. His body shook and started to go down. Right when he was almost laying the red light shattered and he grew angry. What? Naruto growled and a pitch black aura started to engulf his arms and hands. Shio's eyes widened at this unknown development, feeling a large amount danger from it. As Naruto threw a claw swipe she shouted out. Everyone get down. WHSSSH. The slice went above them and cut down numerous trees cleanly in half behind them, deforesting part of the park with one swoop. The kendo had a look of shock on her face just like everyone else and directed it at Shio. What the hell is going on? I don't know anymore. Naruto roared and went on all fours as he started to charge a black ball of some unknown energy above his mouth as it picked up wind, causing Shio's instincts to make her go pale. Two horns started to grow on his head and the large black X on his back started to crack. Oh god. I think that's enough of that. The twins were startled by the familiar voice. The beast Naruto yelped as he was suddenly picked up by the scruff of his neck and jabbed in the side of it, making his body go lax and his body going mostly back to normal a bit, keeping the animal tail and ears and a slightly more feral appearance as he fell asleep. He was hoisted over the shoulder of the newly arrived person who chuckled. Bukuku, well, it looks like you three certainly got into quite the mess while I was gone, huh? Bright yellow fox ears twitched in the moonlight as the amused voice spoke out. The twins knew exactly who this was. This was their one who raised them. Yusaka, their Abe-san. End. Chapter 5. Past due equals. Cough cough. He walked endlessly through the everlasting darkness with no sense of purpose. It felt like he had been walking for hours, but for some reason he felt the need to keep going straight. After some time he eventually came upon a giant black gate. It had a giant padlock attached to it by large chains wrapping around the bars of the gate. Naruto walked up to the cage in curiosity, looking closely at the cracks along the lock. What is this? He saw two giant wide eyes open up in the darkness that stared right at him. Next moment the cage was broken and forced open as Naruto was knocked flying away. As he was hurtling through the sky he was suddenly grabbed by a larger hand. Ah! He coughed up a glob of blood as he felt the hand squeeze down and break something. He was then dropped and fell a short ways to the ground. Bring himself up to his feet he tried to walk again but found it increasingly difficult to do so. Looking down he saw a black sludge grabbing at him, pulling him down. He tried to push on and escape, but its hold got stronger and stronger as it climbed up his legs and latched onto his waist. He struggled to get free as it climbed higher and higher until he heard large thumps of footsteps in front him. As it slowly came into view he could make out its vague features. It was some kind of giant creature with a vaguely humanoid build. It was all black with pointed hands and feet. Its face consisted of a large glowing sharp smile and glowing wide eyes. The sight of it got Naruto's attention, causing him to stop struggling as the sludge had completely encased him up to his chest and was still rising. It made a low hum as it brought its head down to look at him critically. It sniffed him a few times as the sludge came up around his neck and the edges of his face. Rai. It let loose an earth-shattering roar right on Naruto before moving back. As the sludge covered him completely the monster brought its hands in from the slide to clap in on him with a smash. Bam. Aspa. Naruto opened his eyes and was startled by the sudden light. He felt weak and helpless as his body had taken the form of a wolf pup. He felt himself held and pressed into something soft and warm. The feeling was comforting and gave him a sense of security and peace. He nuzzled further into the warmth, enjoying the feeling. Neri-chan, you must have had an interesting dream, didn't you? At the voice he looked up to be greeted by the sight of an extremely beautiful red-headed woman smiling down at him as she held him in her chest. The smile was so warm it was placating. Don't worry Neri-chan, your Ka-chan will always be here for you, watching over you. She held him in one arm and brought the other hand up to eye level as a pitch black aura halfway covered her index and middle finger. In appearance it resembled a flame as well as a thick paint. You will no doubt have an interesting life filled with many hardships, but with much joy as well. She began to move her fingers, swirling a spiral of the black aura in the air in front of him. Don't let yourself be at the mercy of others. Live your life how you wish to live it and make your future dreams come true. Don't let anyone tell you what you can and can't do. She touched Naruto's forehead and the spiral traveled harmlessly into his skull as he slowly fell asleep. You can be whatever you want to be. House. Naruto woke up and put a hand to his head with a groan. Yeah. I hate when my dreams and memories decide to do a mashup. Why do I feel so sore? Slowly but surely he started to remember parts of what happened the previous night. I was out roaming last night, got into a fight with a bird lady and got stabbed through the chest. I must have snapped again to still be alive. He sighed as he laid silent for a few seconds thinking. And I'm pretty sure I wasn't drunk. So going by how that chick looked and what she stabbed me with, I'd say it would be pretty accurate to say she was a fallen angel. Sigh, I knew I should have read up more on them. Well, once again I'm still alive, so no point in worrying about it right now. Might as well get up. He hopped out of bed and yelped when he hit the ceiling. The hell? As he fell back down he tried to right himself back up but was stopped when he felt two things emerge from his back and hold him in the air and stab into the wall. He blinked and looked behind himself to see long black wing-like appendages. Seeing them he deadpanned for a moment then sighed. I guess it's just one of those days. He fell face first to the ground when the wings retreated into him again. He laid there thinking for a while. Okay Naruto. Don't freak out. There has to be a reason for this. Something else must have happened last night. Something right. Rias was also there at the end. And she did something. Be reborn as my servant and as a devil of the Gremory household. Well fuck that. Devil eh? I feel so light. He walked towards the mirror and his eyes widened. Whoa. The surprise was from the fact that the black spikes of hair he always had on top of his head had turned into canine-like ears and behind him he had a long wolf-like tail waving about casually, his canines were sharper and his whisker marks had gotten slightly darker. He looked at the rest of his body and saw it looked mostly the same, but his muscles and body felt harder than before and he felt stronger than ever. His hair was slightly longer and messier, but that was fine. The interesting thing was that his hair was naturally spiked in a way so that it only showed one eye without him trying. The blues of his eyes had turned white even with his sclera and only separated by the black outline of his irises. It was like the eyes of the moon and with his slitted pupils gave him a very intimidating gaze. This is fucking badass. But I can't go out looking like this. Let's see if Abbas and Lesson were right, then if I relax and shift my energy, I should be able to. His tail receded and his appearance turned back to normal. His hair also dropped to cover his eyes again. He lifted his hair up out of the way of his eyes and smirked when he saw they were blue again. Haha, that was easier than expected. He brought his hands together and flexed and the wolf features showed again. He released and they receded again. Flex, release, flex, release, flex, release, flex, release, flex. As long as he was consciously trying to shift, that's all he needed to do to change. He got an excited grin on his face as he shifted faster and faster, enjoying this new change to his life. He didn't notice that black paint flames started emerging from his hands the fast he shifted until it exploded on him. Boom, he was knocked back onto the ground with a yelp as he landed on his tail. Naruto rubbed the soreness as he got up but paused as he looked at his hand. He stared at how it was consumed in blackness just like the other. He waved it back and forth in curiosity and it started to form trails in the air. He played with it and started to draw things in the air. What is this? It's like flaming magic ink. He brought his other hand up and rubbed them together as it started to feel sticky. He pulled them apart and it formed tendrils of the slime in between the hands that stretched to connect both. Getting an idea, he stopped and went to his closet, the blackness on his hands disappearing on instinct. He came back with some drumsticks in hand. He grabbed one and held it up to eye level as he coated his other hand in the black aura again. He then grabbed the drumstick with his coated hand and smiled in satisfaction when the aura formed a shell around the wooden object and shaped into a black sharp object that was twice as long. He looked it over before throwing it at his mirror. From it stabbed right into the mirror, cracking it and embedding itself into the wall. Why the hell did I just do that to my mirror? Rias fidgeted in her seat as she felt animalistic eyes glaring at her. She glanced over at Mizo, who had a hard scowl on her face as her. She was sitting over in an armchair as she glared at her with her slitted eyes shadowed. Shio was sitting to the side in a couch with her arms crossed and her eyes closed, thinking. The one who had gathered them there was sitting next to Shio in the couch. Yusaka took a sip of her tea and sighed. Wapida. Mizo clutched the back of her head in pain as Yusaka smacked it with one of her tails. That's enough with the latent aggression, Mizo-chan. Well, admirable, you more than made your point hours ago and your nails are starting to dig into the chair. Mizo grumbled but otherwise obeyed. Now about what you did to my nephew. I personally have no problems with your actions. Rias was surprised by how easily the kitsune said that. What? Mizo, use your inside voice. I'm sure the two of you know what would have happened had Rias not tried to revive him. He would have bled out on the ground and died, and if anything it would have been worse if she just ignored him. Mizo flinched and Shio's face twitched at the idea of what could have happened. It was their fault for not being there to protect him like they had trained to be able to do so for years. Of course that's what you think would happen, Yusaka added offhandedly at the end, gaining everyone's eyes. Shio finally opened her eyes and looked at her. What do you mean by that? Yufufu, come on girls, you should have long since noticed that there was something off about your brother. All that talent and nothing to show for it. Surely you girls have remembered the bear incident by now. It was like a shock went through their system as the girl's eyes widened. Mizo shook in her seat. Why, you mean that was real? Of course it was. Even when Naruto snapped, a similar thing has happened several more times throughout the years, but I guess you don't know about the others. Anyway, it got worse each time as he got older. I thought it was abnormal, so I ran tests on his body and blood. Apparently that was like a personal failsafe of some kind. It would activate through a combination of him being in danger and his mint state. When I did some digging into his data I found out the thing causing it wasn't of human origin at all. Then what is it? But I'm not completely sure. But look on the bright side. Now that Naruto has changed, you girls don't have to hide who you are anymore. The girls looked down nervous at this, missing Yasaka's smirk as Rias looked on curious. Now before we continue the rest of the conversation I think it would be wise to have Naruto with us. So let's go get the boy. He should be awake by now. She stood up and walked up the stairs towards Naruto's room. Knock knock, Naruto, are you awake yet? We wanted to talk with you. Yasaka opened the door and she saw was a broken mirror, a messed up bed, what looked to be cracks in the ceiling, stab marks in the walls, and a bunch of cards embedded in the walls and floors. Naruto was sitting there only in his shorts with his back towards them. He tilted his head back and grinned as his eyes glowed ominously at her. Get dressed and come downstairs. She closed and passed the girls in the hallway as her face twitched, which Shio noticed. What happened? Don't worry about it. Back downstairs. So girls, is there anything you would like to say to your brother? Leaning against the wall with his arms crossed, Naruto rose an eyebrow at his sisters as they shuffled nervously. Shio, being the older of the two, decided to speak for them. Oh, and Isama, we'll always be family no matter what, right? Of course we will always be family. Even if we were keeping a secret from you all this time. You know I hate secrets. It was short and quick and made them flinch. But I wouldn't be much of a brother if I let that get to me now, would I? He smiled at them reassuringly, giving them courage. Shio continued her confession. Well, you see, in Isama, by mortal standards, we Mizo and I aren't exactly human. What? Naruto tilted his head at this. Guess we'll just show you. At that they slowly let their fox features show. The both looked down and Shio held her arm bashfully, wondering what his reaction would be as she spoke. You see, in Isama we are actually yokai. More specifically kitsune. More specifically the Warbust branch. We were half human at birth, now not so much. The girls grew nervous at his silence and spoke out in unison. In Isama. So all these years I protected you too and you weren't even human. The froze at the emotionless tone he spoke with. Were you even ever going to tell me, or are you only telling me now that I'm some demon? He pushed off the wall and walked towards them, making them stumble back. Rias, seeing this, stepped forward. Hey, hold on, she stopped when Yasaka put a hand on her shoulder and shook her head. You think you can suddenly tell me something like this because it's convenient for you to know and think I will trust you to that easily? Now they had pressed themselves against the wall on the other side of the room and were shaking as Naruto stood intimidatingly over them. Shio's voice came out small as she spoke. Oh, Ani Asama, we're sorry. We'll do whatever you want if you please forgive us. They shut their eyes in fear as Naruto brought his hands up, expecting the worst. They flinched when they felt his hands touch their heads and froze as they went from side to side in a slow, soft motion. They subconsciously leaned into his hands as he did so. He was petting them. He pulled both of them into a hug, surprising them. Whatever I want, eh? That sounds nice, so could I keep protecting you too if that's not too much? Oh, Naisama. Naruto let go of them and smiled. What, did you really think I would hate you too or abandon you two over something as trivial as that? Apparently you did, for you to hide that so long. The older brother looks out for his sisters no matter what happens and no matter what they do. That's his job. The girls started to sniff and their eyes watered as they looked up at him. Naruto sighed at this. Sorry, I guess I messed with you two a little too much just then. He stopped when the twins jumped at him and wrapped their arms around him, burying their faces into his neck. He stumbled a bit but then held them there. And no, it's okay, we deserved Atlas that much. We are just so happy right now. Naruto smiled to himself as they cried into him. Well, I'm glad you two got that out of your system and now I'm getting wet. After a few minutes they calmed down and let go of him. At that Yasaka clapped to get attention. Now that that's over, let's get back to our discussion, shall we? I'm sure you have something else you wanted to say, didn't you, Naruto? At this Naruto's whole demeanor changed as he walked to sit in the armchair. He looked back at the twins and smirked evilly. Oh, and my cute little Amautos. Haha, I already knew you were kitsune. The girls stood there for a few seconds before it finally clicked what they just heard. What, you knew? Come on now, I'm far from stupid even if I act like it at times. You should have known you wouldn't have been able to hide something like that from me forever. All of the jokes and Fox-related moments. Come on, watching you girls squirm was so much fun. Naruto laughed to himself as the girls felt like they were getting a headache. How long have you known? Yasaka spoke up while sipping tea in her seat. Has known since he was 10 years old. I've known since you were born. What? All three kitsune shouted, not expecting that. Yasaka spoke up for them. Naruto, I first told you about the girl's nature when you were 10 because of the incident where you needed to be sealed. Why am I just now hearing about this? Well, truth is my oldest memories were of Kasan and when the twins were born. You mean? Yes, since they were born with their features I was one of the first to see them. But how is that possible? You should have not been cognitive enough at that age. And why did you never say anything? This could have changed a lot. Well, I don't know. One of the things about me is that I don't forget. That's all I can say. I have no idea why I can remember things that far back, but it would explain why learning is so easy. As for not telling anyone that I knew, well, I always assumed you all had your reasons for not telling me. I was basically human and no doubt the weakest link. You no doubt would feel safer knowing that I was oblivious to the supernatural world rather than me knowing about it and fear me getting involved and hurt because of it. Mizo decided to speak out at this. But if we had known, if you had told us that you already knew about our kitsune nature, we could have protected you better. We could have used our abilities to better help you without fear of you knowing about it. We could have. Who said I wanted to be protected? The girls flinched at the tone and kept silent. I never wanted to be protected. I never wanted to have my hand held throughout life because I was the most vulnerable. I never wanted to be pitied for being weaker. I never wanted you to feel obligated to want to protect me to that extent. Doting over me just because you want to is fine, and you girls have done that. But you also doted over me because you were trying to shelter me. It is the older sibling that shelters the younger ones, not the other way around. With each one they felt like bricks were hitting their heads, like they were being scolded. But. Yeah, I could have told you all, but then my role would have been take from me even more than it already was because of your cautiousness. So I kept silent as long as I need to hold on to that while making myself better, stronger, and smarter whenever I could. So when Abe-san gave me the opportunity to see the world and learn more, I jumped at the chance because I needed the new freedom. Picking up what he was indirectly saying, the twins' ears fell and Shio spoke with a sad tone. So we ended up driving you off and you left those years ago just to get away from us. Yes and no. Of course you know that it was to better protect me because I would always be on the move. What you don't know is that I wasn't doing it to be protected but to be able to protect myself. That's why I learned whatever I could and perfected what I could and trained to become as strong as I could. Because while I would be inferior to you two, I at least wanted to be someone you two could look up to or admire in some way. But we do look up to you. Mizo shouted out, trying to assure them. Don't bullshit me. Since when does a supernatural being ever look up to a human? Aye. That's right. In terms of ability, almost never. The only thing humans have going for themselves sometimes is social status. Me being number one at school. That was my goal with that in mind. It's only thanks to all my natural talent that I was born with that I have more going for me than that, and even then it took some work. Of course there is a little more to it, but I think Abe-san wanted to tell you that herself. Naruto leaned into his first as he sat in the armchair with a sigh. He really didn't like talking so hard to them, but it needed to be done. Hisaka sighed as she took another sip of her tea. I still can't believe you kept silent all this time for the sake of your pride, but I guess I really shouldn't be surprised at this point. Girls, you might as well come sit down for this story. The twins walked over and sat down in the couch and waited. Naruto glanced under his hair to the side and saw Rias was still standing off to the side, feeling unsure about what to do. Rias-chan, you might as well come sit down as well and hear this. She nodded, sat in the couch as well. Yusaka started speaking now that they were all sitting. Now I'm sure you kids remember the bear incident and don't worry about it. If you don't know what it is, Gremory, as it's not as important. Well, anyway, what happened at the end happened several more times throughout the years. The most notable would be when he was 10 years old. Flashback. The younger Naruto could be seen walking home alone in the city of Kyoto. His sisters had been out sick that day for whatever reason. He had made it through the city and was already in the more suburban area. He took a shortcut through an alley but stopped when he saw a group of kids walk up in front of him. He looked behind and saw that there were kids behind him too. Most of them, from what he could tell, were around his age or in his class, though a few were a few years older. One of the nondescript boys stepped forward with a cocky look. Well, if it isn't Mustard Head. Mustard Head? Wow, that insult wasn't half bad this time. He sighed at them, not wanting to deal with this. What do you guys want? I just want to go home. Who cares? We can't mess with your sisters because everyone likes them, but you're alone right now. You look like a punk with that yellow hair, and yet you don't ever do anything wrong like a nerd, and you're good in sports. You take too much attention from the rest of us. I didn't know being better than you was a crime, Naruto replied, uninterested, making the boys fume. The boy threw a solid punch at Naruto's face for the smart comment. And your crime was being alive. That's probably why your mom is dead. She couldn't take seeing your face. The punch made him fall back, but at that comment he caught himself and froze, leaning back. Naruto's pupils changed to slits for the first time, and he leaned forward and carried a heavy punch into the kid's face, making him scream in pain as he clutched his face on the ground, shocking the other kids. He was usually a passive person who would take whatever was thrown at him with a smile, but now it's like he had been triggered. Leave my mother out of this. I'm so tired of this. I do nothing wrong. I go to school, do my work, follow the rules, get good grades, and for what? To still have to deal with all this crap. To be looked down on by everyone and be looked on as a pest by others. Well, I'm tired of this crap. You want to fight? Come at me. At this, one of the kids regained his nerves and shouted. At him. Misaka could be seen lounging on a couch flipping through the channels wondering what was on TV. Where's Naruto-chan? He sure is taking a while to come home. She sat up, all of a sudden a strange look on her face as she turned into a fox and left the house. Something's not right. Naruto was on the ground, beaten, bruised and bloody as a group of kids kicked him on the ground. He put up a much better fight than could be expected. He beat down several of the kids out of the 20 that were there and landed blows on many of them. He could take a hit better than any boy his age, and he was agile, which helped. What messed him up was that a few of them had poles and bats, and one scored a good hit on his head, making him stumble enough to be brought down by the rest of the boys. There was no point getting up at this time since struggling would just make them go long as blood dripped on his hair and head. One of the kids holding a bat who was kicking him laughed. He had a bloody nose from when Naruto had scored a good knee strike in at his face. Haha, where is that spark now, mustard kid? All that talk and you're down already. You must not have cared much about your mom. Maybe we should go after your sisters next. His eyes shot open from his place on the ground. It was like something snapped inside of him as the words echoed in his head over and over. He lost it as his hair spiked up on its own despite being covered in blood. Even with all the kids kicking, he shot up off the ground and grabbed the boy's face, making him freeze. He grabbed the bat out of his hand, spun, showing a testament of the little strength he had, and swung both the bat and the boy around. The bat forced the other boys to move out of the way scared, and those that didn't got hit in the face, some having teeth knocked out. At the end of his swing, he swung the boy into the wall and held him up by his face there with one arm. The boy started to shake and sweat like crazy in fear as Naruto brought his face in close. His face and body was shadowed ominously, and all he could see was two pupil-less violet eyes staring at him in the darkness of the shadow. Give the weak some power and all of a sudden they feel powerful. Group the weak in a crowd and they feel like they actually have real power. Push someone who is actually strong to their breaking point and they will find out just how weak they are. May you regret your short lives and what little life you have left. Misaka could be seen sniffing around the area searching for his scent. Just as soon as she picked it up, she felt an odd energy spike and something about it felt dangerous. She took off in her disguised fox form quickly in that direction, and luckily it didn't take her long to get there. It was in an out-of-the-way part of a nearby neighborhood and she walked into the alley where she felt the energy. As soon as she entered, she was on guard. There was traces of blood all over the place and scatterings of crumpled bodies. ZRAIARZ. That was the sounds that could be heard, accompanied with random giggling as she saw a figure approach her. As it stood in front of her, she saw it was Naruto, covered in blood and dragging a bloody bat behind him. Cool, a yellow fox. That's not something you see every day. At the end of that statement, he passed out and fell forward. Before he could hit the ground completely, Yusaka had returned to her human form and caught him. She sighed to herself at the scene before her. Looks like it's time to move again. She stood over Naruto's bed as he told her what happened. He was laying there bandaged from his injuries. Some caused by the kids who fought, but most of the ones on his arms were self-inflicted from him hitting the kids or walls too hard with his bare hands. "Sigh, forgive me, Naruto-chan, I should have given you a guard to watch over you. It's my fault this happened, I will get one for you from now on. If you do that, I promise you I will run away." This caught her off guard with how blunt he was. What? Naruto-chan, I know you're having a hard time, but this is a big deal. And whose fault is that? I try to get better on my own, but I get no help. I do everything I'm supposed to, but I'm still a target. But then I guess it makes sense now. I may be human, but I haven't felt normal in a long time. I mean, how are you going to get me out of this abyss? You and I both know that I killed at least some of those kids back there. Maybe most of they, heck maybe all of them are dead. And you know what the scary thing is? She felt uneasy about where this might be going, but shook her head no. The scary thing is I'm not scared at all. I don't care that I killed them. It was like I was the top predator stepping on a bunch of insects. Squishing them between my feet. It's just that these insects were life-sized. The power I felt. I want to feel strong like that again and again. But you already know what I'm talking about. I mean, you saw it, didn't you, Fox? She sweated all thought that, both from concern and from being started at the end. Nah, Naruto dear, what? Don't try to hide it, I saw you change from a fox in that alley. You aren't even human, are you? That explains why you're acting like this issue of me killing them can be brushed off so easily, because their lives were insignificant to you too. You probably already had something planned to deal with this and were going to have us move so that we wouldn't be aware of the end result. He smirked when she stayed silent. I take that as a yes. Assuming you really are my aunt by blood, what does that make me? She looked at him with a serious gaze that didn't deter him at all. What is it you're really asking? He looked at her equally serious, but there was a faint lost look behind his eyes. I want to know exactly who I am and what you're hiding from me. Flashback and back in the living room. After that I told him pretty much everything he needed to know about me, your mother, you two, who he was, and even some knowledge on the supernatural world, but I still gave him a bodyguard fufufu. He said he would run away if I gave him a guard. He wanted to get stronger. He wanted freedom. And we needed to relocate anyway. So while we moved down here I sent Naruto off to the world with a few Anbu guards to train him and give him the strength and freedom he needed. It wasn't an easy life, but it was what he wanted and what he needed to grow. The girls looked at Naruto, who nodded in agreement that it was all true. They tried to apologize as they felt it was their fault, but he stopped them before they could continue. He then turned to Rias, who had been absorbed by the story. Now onto the situation with Rias-chan. You tried to turn me into a devil even though I told you I wouldn't be your servant and that I would heal. He grinned mentally when the twins glared at her like he predicted they were, but then heard Yasaka speak up. Naruto-kun, how the hell was she supposed to know someone she presumed to be human would heal, let alone heal fast enough to recover from an instantly fatal injury? Her eyes looked with Naruto, giving a look that said, I know what you were trying to do and I'm stopping it. You couldn't let me have my fun, could you? You can't always have your way, Naruto-kun, and you already messed with the twins earlier. Think of this as getting back at you for not telling me of your kitsune knowledge all these years. Fair enough. Shio was confused and asked her question. Wait, what are you talking about and what do you mean Naruto would heal? Yasaka set down her tea having finished it and spoke her piece. Well, first I will tell you this. Her eyes slitted as she stared at Naruto, making him look the other way and whistle. If Naruto was completely opposed to being a devil, Ria's chess piece wouldn't have even affected him. What we learned over the years from experience and testing his blood is that while we don't know what will happen if he is actually killed, he will recover after a certain amount of time from a fatal injury. We also learned that his body is evolving. While he was human at birth, he was probably only 75% human after the bear incident. By the neighborhood incident he was 30% human. In fact, right before last night he was probably 10% human, and the only reason he seemed completely human was because his body was denying the supernatural blood. I got the Anbu to do some tests, and we found out that Naruto would have awakened his powers anyway come his 18th birthday. What Rias did, if anything, accelerated the time he still had left, so there is no problem there. Being fatally injured seems to be one of the things that accelerated his evolution anyway, so even if Rias had not been there he would have changed soon anyway. It's just the Gremory's interference may have mutated things some. So then Inuyasama did have kitsune blood all along? Not exactly. Naruto-kun, could you show us your new features? Hi. He got up out of his seat and took his shirt off, making the girls blush, and Yasaka blinked. Well, I don't see how that was necessary, but at least you've kept in shape. He turned around and flexed, making his canine parts emerge and the wings sprout. His hair spiked up to show one eye automatically as well. He looked back at her as he pointed at the large black X on his back. I figured you would want to talk about this too. The girls, all while still blushing, all ran off questions at this. Yeah, Abe-san, why is there a seal on him? Well, during the neighborhood incident I noticed that his body was emitting some kind of aura or energy constantly and at a high amount, and his humanish body couldn't handle it at the time. It was the equivalent of him burning out like a light and was going to make him a beacon of other supernatural beings, whether they were devils or fallen angels or whatever. It was causing him to become lethargic, exhausted, and was even damaging his life force. Since he couldn't control it, the best thing I could do was seal the energy output. It will be a good thing now because it can help you control your power. Of course the seal could be bypassed completely sometimes if he snapped or forced it open now. Now about your new appearance, Naruto-kun, I'm sure you girls are all wondering about it as well. The twins suddenly felt weaker around him for reasons they couldn't explain. Hi Abe-san, why does he resemble a wolf more than a fox? Rias spoke up from her seat as well. Also, his wing don't look like that of the traditional devil. Well, for the wolf part that would likely be because of your heritage. As you all know now, you three are probably among the last few descendants of the war beast branch. Extremely powerful potential and heavily sought after. From what I know from history, the kitsune of war beasts were pretty much always female. When they gave birth to a male they generally resembled wolves more than foxes. Why this is we don't know, but it's not really much of a physical difference. If anything, it's just more masculine, which I'm sure you have no problem with, Naruto-kun. His chuckle was all the confirmation she needed that he was fine with it. Now as for the wings, I am not sure. We studied his DNA, and while there was human and yokai DNA of wolves and foxes in there, there were other things we can't quite explain. We even found DNA similar to devils, yet something about it seemed different. We aren't sure what it was, we are just waiting to see what develops at this time. We even found DNA that was similar to that of Dai. I don't think they need to know that just yet, Abe-san. The girls looked back at him confused, but Yusaka nodded. Very well then. Anyway, the wings on his back do indeed not resemble that of regular devils. They are lower on his back than normal and resemble curved blades almost, and yet are still flexible. I'm really interested how you will even fly with those. They sat there in silence for a bit and Naruto had yet to put his shirt back on. After a while Rias coughed into her hand and spoke. Well, what is going to be done about the peerage issue? Yusaka spoke up at this. Well, knowing how skilled Naruto is, if he had actually been trying to win seriously, I really do doubt that fallen angel would have been even able to hurt him as much as she did. In fact, if he had a weapon, her death would have almost been guaranteed. That being said, and the fact that this didn't happen, given what you have just learned, I'm sure you can guess why Naruto didn't try. So what happens will be up to you, Naruto. He flexed his fingers in thought as his wings receded, then looked at her. Tell you what, I did become a devil or something, I don't know. Anyway, can you feel a connection to your piece in me? If you can, I want you to force me to kneel. If you can succeed in giving me an order, I will join your peerage without argument and do whatever you want. The twins spoke up at this. Hey, hold on. Naruto held his hand up to get them to stop talking. However, if you fail, I will do whatever you want and will only be a part of your peerage on paper and help you out when I feel like it. Only keeping the connection with you through the piece so that I won't be labeled as a stray. But other than that, I will do whatever I want. Agreed. She nodded at this. That sounds reasonable. Alright, whenever you're ready. She stood up from her seat and walked in front of him. His wings emerged and she held her hand out at him, searching for the piece. She couldn't find it, so she focused her mind and power and searched deeper and deep inside of him. She went so deep she felt like she would be drowned until she finally saw the faint red light of the mutated chess piece. It looked giant, but that was overwhelmed by the darkness. Now knowing where the piece was, her hand glowed red with the magic circle of the House of Gremory. In the name of the House of Gremory, Rias Gremory, heiress to the family, order you to kneel. Naruto put his hands in his pocket as he felt pressure, but otherwise didn't move. Nope. She tried harder as the magic circle glowered brighter. Kneel. His legs shook, but he stayed up. Have to try harder. Kneel. His legs buckled and his knees bent, but after a second he stood up straight again with an excited look on his face. Come on, you're almost there. She held up both hands and the magic circle grew even bigger as she tried her hardest. In the name of the House of Gremory, I order you, lowly pawn, to sit like the dog you are. His eyes widened as he fell forward, making the girls gasp. Holy shit, I wasn't expecting that. Suddenly Rias saw a giant black monster come out of nowhere in the darkness and snatched the giant pawn piece up in its mouth before biting down, and cracks appeared all throughout the pawn piece, barely being held together. She felt like she had just been mentally knocked out of the way. As she came to, she realized she was kneeling on the ground. She looked up and saw Naruto standing over here with a predatorish grin. That was an excellent try, and I would be lying if I said I didn't find it a little hot, but I think this is my win. After a few moments, Yusaka started laughing out loud at the twins and Ria's confusion. What's going on? What happened? Yusaka calmed down before laughing. But I have no idea. But I do know that if Naruto doesn't want to do something, even a god would probably be hard pressed to force him. He is just that stubborn. Rias got up off the ground and looked at him. Oh really? He gave a thumbs up and smiled. Believe it. He shivered right afterwards and looked at Yusaka, who was glaring at him. What did I say about using that catchphrase? Haha, sorry. I couldn't help it, I just love your reaction. Sigh. Well, anyway, I believe that clears up all problems. So now we can call it a day. Rias took that as her cue to leave. Very well. It's unfortunate that you aren't my servant, but I hope you will at least be my friend and maybe even join my club. He smirked at her but only nodded. We will see. She nodded as well with a smile and teleported away with her magic circle. He stretched and walked off. Now if you excuse me, I feel stronger than ever, but now that this seal has been lowered, I'm feeling tired, so I'm gonna go sleep. Jana. The twins were going to follow after them, having felt emotionally drained from the whole ordeal, but were stopped by Yusaka. Hold on, you two, there is a few other things I have to tell you about your brother before you go and rest. Naruto, who was still in earshot, gained a sly grin as he kept walking to his room. He had a feeling he knew what she was gonna tell them, but he wasn't going to stop her. End. Chapter 6. My skill is enough. Everything is so loud. Naruto dragged his feet as he walked towards the academy with his sisters in tow. Ever since he awakened, his senses had been overdrive. It took getting used to. He even had to get used to walking at a normal pace, since now his body naturally wanted to go at least at a twice as fast pace when he walked. Mizo spoke out, her cheery disposition having returned despite the stressful events that happened a few days before. Don't worry, Inai-sama, I'm sure you will get used to it fast. How did you two get used to this? Shio shrugged as she answered. I dunno. We were born this way, remember? We never had to cope. Naruto grumbled to himself but kept walking. As they did, they caught the attention of other students on their way. He was able to hear what they said, and he knew the twins could too. His grin to himself increased as the statements went on. Look, it's the Uzumakis. It's the Vixens and the king. He doesn't look innocent enough to be a king. Yeah, what if he forced them to be his slaves and do whatever he wants? I wouldn't mind doing whatever he wants. Same. What if the siblings are all into each other? The fan club will be formed so this ship can sail. Did Naruto-sama get hotter? Nice weather we're having. Some random guy said at the end. His grin faltered at the end. I didn't like that last one. The girls were blushing as they heard everything that was said. Shio stumbled with her words as she spoke. There was more weird ones than that one at the end. He turned his head to her and looked confused. What were they? Why, you know, the one about us all being into each. She started trailing off, getting quieter at the end as both girls blushed. What? You have to speak up. Then never mind. He rose an eyebrow at her but shrugged and kept walking, all the while a grin slowly returned on his face. They kept walking as they passed the gates of the school. As they entered the school building, they made their way up the stairs so that they could wait in class. He was alright with all the attention usually, but right now it was annoying him. As they went up the stairs, Naruto passed a male with short brown hair, and catching each other's attention they looked at each other and froze in shock. Issei? Shit, I forgot he existed. Rias must have done some. How am I going to go about this? Oh, Naruto-senpai. You were there, surely you remember Yuma too, right? There were too many people watching for Naruto to even say what he wanted, so he went about it another way. Oh, Issei. It's good to see you again. I hope you had a pleasant weekend. He shook his hand with a smile. Girls looked at them in surprise that someone like Naruto was even talking to that pervert. Yes, wait, no, it wasn't good. What happened to Yuma? Well, there is a time and place for everything, and unfortunately I don't have time to continue this conversation. Mizo spoke up behind him to get his attention. Naisama, we have to get to class. Issei looked behind Naruto and spazzed at the sight of the twins. The girls shivered in disgust at his attention. Who's Vixens? I know we haven't formally met, but I have. I'm gonna kill you. Issei shivered at the unknown presence he felt and turned around to a sickly sweet smiling Naruto. The blonde put his hand on his shoulder, making Issei jump as his eyes stared through his hair at him. He leaned in and whispered to Issei. Whatever you were about to say, if you want to live a little longer I suggest you shut your mouth. Having now scared the boy, Naruto backed off and resumed his previous demeanor with a smile. Now I'm afraid we are going to have to continue this conversation another time as we need to get to class. He walked up the rest of the stairs, leaving Issei there as his sisters followed behind them, still thinking about what just happened. In class. Naruto had his head on his desk as the teacher had her lesson. He was off in his own little world, so you can bet he wasn't paying attention. Just like Yasaka said would happen now that his seal was weakened, he felt more lethargic than usual when he wasn't doing anything. He had already been getting tired of his human life, but now that he was some kind of amalgam, he didn't even care about being here now. Bored, I need something to do. How is it that I feel both restless and tired? Oh well, what am I going to train today? I should see what else I can do with this power of mine. Speaking of which, I should find a name for it. I wonder if no one will notice if I mess with my aura back here. Right when flame appeared over his finger. Naruto-san. And just like that it dispersed again. What? He sat up suddenly, making some giggle as the teacher called him. Are you feeling alright? He rubbed his head and smiled. I guess I'm just a little sleepy is all. Well, perhaps participating in class will keep you awake. Could you answer the following problem for the class? Sorry, I wasn't paying attention. Guys in the class chuckled at his misfortune, thinking he was embarrassed when he really didn't care. He looked up at the board and after 2 seconds. But the answers are 18, 45.25, 25 mu, and he continued on for 7 more answers. Naruto-san, I meant for you only to answer one question. The questions were all of a pretty good difficulty and should have taken more time to solve by hand than 2 seconds for the total amount. No Gomen, I guess I'm more out of it than I thought. He enjoyed the shocked looks on his classmates' faces and the look of discontent on some of the males' faces as he leaned into his hand and looked out the window, not caring about what was going on again. I'm hungry. Classes were over for a while and it was midday, so they were on their lunch break. He leaned back as Shio and Mizo turned in their seats towards him, since they both sit in the row right in front of him. They took out bento boxes and held them slightly skittishly. "Naisama, we made you lunch again," spoke Mizo as the girl set them on his desk. They had been doing this for a few class days now, so he didn't really get why they always seemed a little awkward about it. He usually would go without lunch, and the few times he did eat at the school, he would buy something in excess, so they just decided to fix his meals for him, which they didn't have a problem with. "Arigato girls, your cooking is great as always." They beamed at the praise. He could just imagine if they were visible their tails would be wagging lightly. "Cute. Pretty soon you two will be able to cook as good as me." Their faces twitched at that, causing Naruto to laugh at their now sour expressions. He ate the 2 bentos, but they had other food in their bags for later. He already ate a lot, but now that his canine nature awakened he eats even more now. And the seal being weakened makes him want to eat more to make up for the wasted energy that's leaking out. As he ate he was aware of a door opening and looked towards the door to see Rias Gremory enter the classroom in all her glory. Good thing about it is people stopped watching him eat some to look at her. Attention is something to enjoy, but too much can get annoying. She walked over to them and sat on the desk to the side of him, facing him, which he didn't have a problem with. "Good day to you, Shio-chan, Mizo-chan, Naruto-kun." The girls nodded now on more agreeable terms again. Though Rias knew she was being watched by them now, which was understandable. If Naruto hadn't been so easygoing with her mistakes, things could have gotten a lot worse. Naruto's eyes focused in on her thighs as she crossed her legs, not that you could see them. "God, they are so thick and smooth. I almost saw her panties. I wonder if I can see through clothes with my new abilities." His eyes started to glow, but he got no results. "TCH, well, that failed. Oh well, there is more than one way to see a girl naked." Rias was confused as to why Naruto was so silent. When she saw his eyes glow lightly for a bit and where they were angled, she suddenly felt the need to try and pull her skirt down some. "This is the first time I've ever actually seen someone physically try to undress someone with their eyes." "Off, Naruto-kun." The twins' eyebrows twitched at him as they saw what he was doing. Naruto snapped out of his thoughts and looked up at her. "Oh Rias, the hell have you been?" "I've just been out taking care of some things for my club is all." She finished with a smile but almost pouted when Naruto just nodded and then looked uninterested as he went back to eating. "Oh no, would you be interested in stopping by the occult research club? Maybe even joining it?" He finished his bento boxes and stacked them as the girls ate their lunch at a much slower pace. "What's in it for me?" Usually people would just give her an answer. "You want me to interact with your group and I'm not feeling too interested about joining anything, so if you want me to join then what would I get out of it?" She leaned forward a little so that she wouldn't have to say it too loudly. "Well, the club is really a cover for my peerage." Naruto tossed the thought around in his head a little. "Oh, so other devils. What else?" Well, students who are in clubs are free to skip classes if it correlates with a club activity, as long as their classwork is taken care of. Honor students especially have more leeway with this." "Sign me up, I'll be there this afternoon." She blinked at this. "Wait, skipping classes was more interesting to you than meeting other supernatural beings?" "Actually both interested me, I just wanted to know what else you had to say. I also wanted to look at your pretty face a little longer. Now if you girls excuse me, I'm going to go take a walk." Arigato." She looked lost as Naruto got out of his seat and went out the door with his hands in his pockets. She looked to the twins and they just shrugged. "The Cult Research Club. Where the hell are we?" He followed his sisters into a separate building after school ended. Seeing as they were members of the club, the twins led him to where he needed to go. As they opened the doors they let him in. The inside of the room was wood-paneled and Victorian-styled with couches and chairs. It was kind of impressive and certainly more than he was expecting, and yet when you realized it was for a bunch of devils it somehow fit. Suddenly his senses went wild as he sniffed the air. He turned his head and saw a white-haired girl eating sweets on one of the couches, seemingly not paying attention to them. "Pat." The twins thought it was odd but decided to introduce her, alternating between lines. "Oh, Inayasama, that's one of the club members' cat. She is our first year and youngest here lowly. Her name is Tauju Kaneko Cat. And she is kind of the club's mascot." "Cat." His hair started to spike up to reveal one eye. His blue eyes turned white and had a light glow about it. They finished with a cheery gesture of hands like they were kids with something cool at show and tell. They looked and noticed Naruto's change as he dropped down to all fours as he went wild and started to stalk towards the white loli. "Oh, Inayasama." Kaneko was peacefully eating her sweets as she sat on the couch in peace. Rias often bought these sweets to appease her sweet tooth whenever she was here, which she was grateful for. She instinctively flinched when she head growling to the side. She went paler than usually when she saw Naruto in his half-wolf form, froze mid-crawl only a few feet away from her. When he did a fang grin her hair bristled and she reflexively tried to jump away. As soon as she got 3 feet through the air she felt a tug on the back of her uniform and next thing she knew she was grabbed from behind by Naruto into a hug. "AWWW, so cute. I just want to squeeze you and smother you with a pillow. So adorable with your quiet disposition, chaste body and small frame." She was dazed in confusion as he hugged her. She very faintly blushed when Naruto started to rub his cheek against hers over affectionately and started to squirm and struggle in his grasp. He was somewhat surprised how hard it was starting to get to keep her from breaking his grip. "SHH, it's okay, I'm not gonna hurt you, I'm just a pervert. Wow, you're so soft and warm, I could just eat you up." Kaneko decided that it was time to hurt him and was about to swing her leg back into his crotch when she heard a whisper in her ear that made her freeze. "Keep fighting and I really will have to eat you." At that, her animal survival instincts overrode her better judgment and her body submitted and stopped struggling. She started to whine like a kitten as she couldn't do anything but helplessly accept the attention. "Rio. That's a good girl." She looked over to the twins for some form of help but then looked betrayed when she saw their expressions. Mizo was covering her face while peeking through her fingers and Shio also blushed lightly and her mouth was twitching, struggling not to laugh. They wanted to help her at first, but it got to the point that Kaneko's reactions were too entertaining and adorable to stop Naruto just yet. Her eyes started to glaze when Naruto pet her head and scratched at the sides. What do we have here?" Naruto stopped and looked in the direction of a voice to see the Yamato Nadeshiko of the academy herself, Himejima Akeno. Where did she even come from? He sat Kaneko down on the couch and got up to face her. "Himejima-san, I believe." She nodded with a smile as he walked up to her. "Yufufu Akeno is just fine. It's nice to finally meet the one who has caused such a stir in our academy recently face to face. You've become quite popular and sought after." "Haha, am I?" His groove started for a second when he felt her poke her fingers on his abs. She had a sultry look in her eye that caught him off guard. "Yes, very much sought after. A guy who is smart, athletic and handsome, it shouldn't be much of a surprise to you. But there is one thing you should know." He shivered as she walked her fingers up his torso. He jerked when she pulled him down by his tie to eye level and pushed the knot of it up with the other hand tightly until it almost choked him. "I am the vice president of the Occult Research Club. So if you can't keep yourself from molesting our first year, I will have to put the dog on a leash." Naruto didn't know why, but for some reason from the look in her eyes, she felt like she did that for reasons other than him messing with Kaneko. Reasons that sent a shiver down his spine. "This is kind of hot." "Wait, dog. Leash." "No way," she said that without reason, so how could wait a minute? He sniffed her hair, confusing her as that was not the reaction she expected and it kind of weirded her out. He leaned back as memories came to his head. He grinned and with a blur of hands, Akeno found herself pinned to a wall by Naruto's hands on her wrists, making her gasp in surprise. She felt small when one wide eye gleamed at her from the shadows of his spiking hair. "Oh, I remember now. You were that devil chick who struck me with lightning the other day when I went feral." He let go of her wrists, but she was stuck off the ground as some kind of black aura kept her wrists above her held pinned to the wall. Naruto stroked his chin in thought as Akeno hung there in embarrassment. "Oh no, can you please release me? I'm thinking, how should I pay you back for that shot you got at me? I tend to enjoy taking away people's pride. I've done so to Rias and even Kaneko-chan now." He cupped her chin as she leaned in, making her blush. "I have to say I'm enjoying the image of you pinned to a wall helpless to me, but I wonder what else I can do to you." The presence he started exuding made her whimper as she rubbed her thighs together, making his grin widen. Shio finally decided it was time to stop him, as they were pretty sure that one way or another, he was about to do something potentially illegal in his animalistic state. Before she could speak though, the president of the club came to the rescue. "Is this going to be a regular thing that we should be wary of, or can you just not control your primal urges?" He looked around and saw Rias standing at the window with her arms crossed, looking both a little irritated and amused. "Oh, Rias-chan. I was wondering when you would show up." His hair combed to cover his eyes again as his traits disappeared. His disposition turned to a more cheery one as he smiled at her as the aura released Akeno, making her fall down. "Are you going to answer my question?" "There is no fun in telling you the answer." "And what if I ordered you to answer?" She rose and eyebrowed him. All Naruto did was keep silent as his grin widened, showing his canines. She got the hint and looked away, confusing the other two devils. "Just checking. So why did you want to come here so badly? If you wanted some one-on-one time, I'm all gamed, but seeing as there are others here, I'm fine with it being a group if that's the kind of stuff you're." "That's not why I called you here. I wanted to have you formally introduced to the rest of the club and my peerage, as well as discussing with you and our other new member some devil matters." Her eyebrow twitched at him. His way of speaking caught her off guard too much to be able to react normally, and he was too aware for him to talk down to him or manipulate him well with sweet words like everyone else without him knowing. To which he would use to just throw her off again. "Speaking of which, that reminds me. What's the deal with?" They turned when they hear the door open and walked to Sei and Kiba. "Where am I? Wow, this room is filled with all the hot babes." Naruto deadpanned at the second year. "Well, speak of the devil." Rias took this moment to smile at the blonde. "I'm sure you can figure it out, Naruto-kun. He put the pieces in his head as to what probably happened quickly and looked at Rias. Kind of greedy, aren't you? It wasn't planned that way, but I'd say I got a pretty big catch that day. I hope when you said big you were talking about me. I was talking about the both of you total. It's not every day that you reincarnate two devils. Do I even count because I was just minding my own business when you came along? No, you weren't, you made yourself a target to a fallen angel. Yeah, whatever, let's just take care of whatever business you wanted me here for. She nodded, smiling at the weird banter, and sweat dropped when she turned her attention to Issei, who looked like he was about to lose control of his bladder from excitement at seeing too many attractive girls in one location. Right, well, sorry to keep you waiting, Issei. Welcome to the Occult Research Club. And once again, sorry about only just telling you about your devil status this morning. I would have had told you sooner, but I had some things to take care of over the weekend. She glanced at Naruto, who just had his hands in his pockets. Anyway, this club is supposed to look like some kind of hobby, but to be blunt about it, I'm not the only devil here, Issei. What you mean you all are devils? And that girl who attacked you in the park was something else. A fallen angel. Issei's eyes widened at this as she continued. Yes, Issei, she was real. Some think we are the same thing, which is understandable but is very much so not true. Even though fallen angels have dropped to the underworld because of their dark emotions, they still have the urge to serve God. The similarities are that just like devils, they too live to misguide humans. But they also wish to please God, so their goal is to wipe us out as well, making us the enemies to both angels and the fallen ones. I shouldn't have to explain to you what angels are. She stopped when she saw Issei had a stupid look on his face. Is something wrong? You seem lost. Well, that's probably because I am. I mean, you're talking about some freaky stuff here. She gained a patronizing smile in amusement. It shouldn't be that hard to believe after what that girl did to you. What was the name? Yuma Amano, I believe. The reason why no humans remember her is because just like devils, fallen angels can erase and alter human memories. This makes it easier to get the job done. If no one remembers the crime, then how can they know it was you after all? Her goal was likely to kill you, but only after verifying that you had a powerful tool within you. A sacred gear of some sort. Sacred gear? Yes, sacred gear. They are basically unique powers that are only found in a rare few. Most of the people I know of who had sacred gears were historic figures, so it's kind of a big deal. The answer came from Akeno, who was sitting in the opposite couch. Thank you, Akeno. What she said is right. The thing is, these tools can become so uncontrollable that they can make you a threat to the underworld. Issei, hold up your left arm. He did as instructed without thought. Okay, but I'm not very good at catch. Now I want you to close your eyes and think of the part of your body you think is the strongest, then focus on that part to try and draw out your power. Issei blushed as his mind went south. Wow, I knew my junior was great, but I didn't think it contained such a legendary power. If you think that's the most powerful part of you, then I feel terrible for the rest of your body. Naruto scoffed from his place on the wall as Akeno held back a giggle. Issei looked at him, having apparently just now noticed he was in the room. Naruto-senpai, you're here too. Does that mean you're a devil too? He nodded at him and smiled. Well, yes, since I almost got killed trying to save your ass from that hot fallen angel chick, Ms. Twin Peaks over there thought it would be a clever idea to reincarnate me. Long story short, here I am. Ria's eyebrow twitched at Naruto's shot at her. Anyway, it's probably too soon for you to use your sacred gear anyway, so I will let you unlock it on your own. Now, do you have any questions? Yes. I took a glowing rod through me and yet somehow I'm still here. How does that work? She held up a summoning card with the Gremory symbol on it. I found you dying in the park, and so because of your strong will to live, I had you revived and reborn as an honored member to the Gremory household. Which means you are now my devil servant. What? So does that mean Naruto-senpai is your servant as well? He pointed to Naruto, who was still leaning on the wall. Naruto glanced to lock eyes with Rias to let her know to watch what she said. No, I'm not her servant. I do what I want. Akeno looked to Rias at this. She would get an explanation later. Rias coughed into her hand and ignored it. Well, anyway, Issei, welcome to my peerage. We are happy to have you. Her black wings sprouted, startling Issei as the rest of them followed her lead. He stumbled when his own wings emerged. He looked at Naruto again, confused. Don't you have wings? Yeah, he got off the wall and showed his wings. His being lower on his back and more blade-like in shape. What's wrong with them? Naruto twitched at how innocent and insulting that question was. There is nothing wrong with my wings. Then why do they look so different? I don't know. Akeno decided to join in from her seat. They do look odd. You most have trouble flying. She giggled when she saw him glare. You would know, wouldn't you, since you shot me out of the sky the other day? She flinched when he held out his hand and black aura danced along it, reminding her of what he did earlier. I can still fly, I just do it differently and only hovering is harder. Besides, flying is overrated anyway. Someone is salty. Shut up. Issei with his awesome awareness skills finally remembered that the twins were also in the room who were sitting against the wall to the side some ways from Naruto. He pointed at them curious as well. What about them? Do they have wings too? Rias answered this for him. Well, they aren't actually devils. They are yokai, specifically kitsune. Yo, what? Not important right now. Training room several days later. He ducked as a swipe sailed above his head. Mizo spun with emotion and sent a high kick at Naruto's head which he blocked with his forearm. He whistled when he felt a gust of wind from the force. She launched a barrage of punches at his upper body that he danced with, pushing and parrying them away with his palms as she continued her assault. Suddenly she jumped back before taking off at high speed towards his side. Right before she was on the side of him, she used the momentum to side flip at him, creating a spin kick as he tail lashed and swung about with her. Naruto's eyes widened but sidestepped cleanly, the tail barely missing his face as it broke through the wind. Nice. Mizo finished with a drop kick where Naruto was supposed to be with enough force to crack the ground. She yelped when she felt him grab her by her tail and swing her around before throwing her off to the side. The path would have made her fly into Shio, who was watching if the older twin hadn't sidestepped at the last minute, making Mizo hit the wall hard. She held her head in pain as she dropped down. Ah. Not bad, Mizo-chan. Unfortunately I have too much skill and versatility in fighting. He said as he walked up to the two. Shio nodded in agreement. Naruto-kun is right, Mizo-chan, he has too much skill in fighting for you to be that effective against him by yourself anymore. The youngest gave a weak grin as she got off the ground, rubbing the sore part of her head. I guess I should have expected that Inayasama of all people would get reaccustomed to his enhanced body in only a few days. He stretched his arms as he nodded. Yep, though I still need to get used to my speed. Not to make you feel bad or anything, but the speed I was going at was only a little higher than my old human speed. If I went much higher I would have started tripping and it would have gotten sloppy though. Well, it's a good thing Mizo didn't use her full speed then. She is noticeably faster than that, but we are training you in combat, not speed specifically. We will get to that as you improve. Thank God, if you were really that slow I would have been worried. The girls looked at him confused. What? Well, it's just that you said thank God. Did that not hurt since you're a devil now? Naruto shrugged. I don't know. If it did I didn't notice. Shio filled that away for later. Naruto's progress however was astounding. He had only been a devil for around 4 days and he had gotten used to his body's disorientation at an accelerated level. The first day he moved smoothly and now by the fourth he could already outclass Mizo in combat. He was probably just at her level now. Sure, they weren't using their usual speed, but even still that advantage she could see fading very quickly. His reflexes could very well be his greatest strength, but she had yet to see how far his stamina can go to make that judgment. Of course, when he lets his power spill out from the weakened seal his stamina drops considerably. At least according to what Yusaka said, so it would be some time before she could see what he truly can do. -2 days later, training room. DCH Shio sweated as she blocked a punch from Naruto. It was Friday and already Naruto was good enough to keep her on her toes. She kept forgetting that it wasn't just his fighting ability she had to worry about. Naruto was just getting used to his new body, he already knew how to fight. How to fight more like an animal seemed to come naturally to him, so the transition wasn't an issue. But Naruto was also getting used to his strength and speed. And as he got accustomed to it his average speed rose subconsciously. She saw him now having to remember to hold back his physical abilities in public now lest he make a mistake. She could still handle the speed and even the strength she could manage. But she wasn't used to fighting with someone who had physical prowess similar to or beyond her and yet fought like him. Sure, she spared with Yusaka every now and then, but that usually involved more than just hand-to-hand combat. If anything, Naruto somewhat reminded them of their grandfather but a lot more wild. Naruto lashed out with a high kick at her head. She blocked it before launching a same-style kick at him, though it reached his shoulder. This started a flurry of kicks exchanged between them that looked like a blur sending claps through the air. You'd think that Naruto would be hindered by his height. He wasn't. He suddenly jumped back, making Shio miss her kick completely and overswing. He jumped forward and spun, launching a kick at her back. It would have been heavy if it connected, but she blocked it with her tail, which he wasn't expecting. She turned her head to grin at him. Clever. The tail wrapped around his leg and swung him into the ground. He caught himself by his hands and spun, kicking his legs out and breaking the grab before suddenly sprouting his own tail and lashing out. It grabbed a hold of her tail and reeled him in like a yo-yo. As he flew at her he did a double stomp at her chest. Shio crossed her arms to block the heavy assault as she skid back. If she had been human that would have shattered the bones. She then grabbed a hold of his ankles and used her strength to bend back and swing Naruto back. He would have crashed into the ground if he hadn't displayed his flexibility by bending back and catching the ground with his hands. Naruto looked up at her as she held onto his legs and grinned. Her eyes widened as she learned that that meant Naruto was about to do something that would probably hurt and end the match. Naruto's arms flexed as his fingers dug into the ground, cracking it from the pressure. Using his core muscles he then started to pull himself into a handstand from that sharp angle, lifting Shio off the ground until they were completely vertical and tossed her into the air. Before she could right herself in the air, Naruto grabbed a hold of her ankles. She sensed Naruto's muscles tense again, and the twisted grin growing on his face caused her to panic a little and so shouted out. "Mizo." Naruto blinked when he felt a tail sweep knock his legs out from under him. Shio used his disorientation to grab Mizo with her tail, pulling her to the ground faster. As soon as she touched down, she dashed at Naruto's exposed midsection with a spin and swung her tail into him full force in a way that almost resembled a lariat. Naruto's eyes widened under his hair as he was winded and was knocked across the room into the wall, cracking it and embedding him. That was dirty. He fell out of the wall a few seconds later. The twins stuck their tongues out at him. "Sorry, Inaya-sama, but I wasn't trying to be crushed into the floor. We are foxes and you were trained by ninjas. You should have expected it at some point." She shivered when that one wide eye glared at them as he got up and looked unusually calm. He dusted himself off and nodded. "Very well then. I was trying to at least play fair with my sisters, but if you want to try that then fine." "Inaya-sama, why are you walking towards the weights?" He picked up two 200-pound weights and walked to them. "Inaya-sama, what are you doing?" Boom. They paled when one of the weights sailed right between them and embedded itself in the wall behind them. He threw it quickly and smoothly across the room like it was nothing. He picked up a 500-pound weight with his other arm, making them infinitely more nervous. They stumbled back as he stalked forward with his aura flickering. "Oh, Inaya-sama, wait, I'm too tired to fight anymore." "Then start running." They stepped back a little faster. His sadism was increased when he awakened and it was already high enough before. This isn't funny. Saint, stop playing around. Haha, life isn't fun if you don't enjoy it. And he was most certainly enjoying it. Saturday night. He yawned as he stretched his arms. It was always nice to take a stroll out at night. He enjoyed it more than the daytime. It was like he was more alert and at peace or something. His casual wear as he walked out now was a black leather jacket and black baggy jeans. The jacket was open, showing an orange shirt, and he had black shoes on with orange trim. This was also an exercise for him as he found out he could make his clothes out of his paint aura. He kept forgetting to come up with a name for that power of his. He could fight excellently on his own, but adding his tail was another variable. Adding his power changed the game completely. And adding weapons, God help that person. Anyway, on the matter of his power, while making his clothes out of it was cool, it also made his presence easier to track. It was good as that made his sisters not worry about him as much. After he awakened, they really wanted to try harder at protecting him, but as long as they could sense that he was alright, they would let him do what he wanted. Problem was that even though he was at a distance, he was still exuding more presence than he wanted to or even needed to for them to track, since he still needed to build up his control. And that could make him a target. He walked calmly through the alleys without rhyme or reason, just going wherever the wind took him. He came across a bunch of dogs in one alley who were fighting over scraps in the garbage. All of them were likely strays and some of them looked wild. He walked through and several of them cowed and moved to the side to let him by. However, the biggest two of the group didn't waver, and when Naruto went to stand in front of the two dogs who were about to fight, they turned to growl at him. However, they instantly started to whimper and lay down when one wide eye glared down at them and Naruto spoke. "Sit." At that, the dogs listened, even the ones around him that the command wasn't directed at, and laid down. He sniffed the air for a moment and realized why there was so many dogs in this area. There was a butcher shop nearby. "Stay." The dogs all listened obediently as Naruto walked off and came back a few minutes later with several bags. He sat them down for the dogs and motioned for them to come to them. He emptied out the contents to empty large packages of meat and left them to the dogs, who all happily ate as he walked off. He kept one bag for himself. As he was walking, he was now in a more abandoned neighborhood. Supposedly some interesting things happened in this part of town, like gang fights and creepy ghost sightings. But right now it was unusually dead. "Are you looking for a way out?" Naruto turned around to see a tall man about the same height as him wearing a gray trench coat and a fedora. Nah, I know my way around these parts, but thank you anyway." Naruto smiled at him and kept walking, which caused irritation. "How unfortunate that you had to run into me. I can't stand lower class beings like you devils." Naruto stopped walking and turned around to face him. "I thought something felt strange. And you know I'm a devil apparently. So let's see. I don't see any friends nearby or a master. You also don't seem to be running away or trying to use a magic circle. So I will assume you are nothing but a stray and an idiot. Is that correct?" Naruto tilted his head and smiled as he put his hands in his pockets. "What if I said you're right?" Wings sprouted out of the man's back, making his eyes widen in surprise as he formed a blue spear of light. Then I would have to kill you. Oh who? Another fallen angel apparently. And what if I said you were wrong? The man smirked evilly at him. Then I wouldn't believe you and would still kill you. Because if you can't prove it then killing you wouldn't be a problem. Naruto got excited as his hair spiked to show both eyes having turned violet, shadowed by the moonlight. His fangs bared as he laughed. Haha, well if you think you can take my life you're welcome to try. The man grit his teeth at how it looked like Naruto wasn't taking him seriously. DCH, I hate you cockily little devil shits. Know that it was Donaseek who killed you. At that he chucked the spear of light at Naruto who just casually leaned to the side having it barely miss his chest as it sailed by. He watched it fly off then looked back at Donaseek with a bored look. Well that was kinda of underwhelming. GRR. He formed two spears in his hand and threw them at Naruto. He dodged them the same way by leaning from side to side. Cool dual wielding, but it still didn't do shit. The fallen angel had a vein pop on his head as he hovered on the ground. He formed a score of spears above him and with a grunt launched them at Naruto. Not scared at all, Naruto started walking forward, sidestepping and swaying out of the way of the spears and lances as they came down at him as if it was nothing. His reflexes was one of the things he had the most pride in. Growing up his favorite sport was dodgeball, but when he went traveling that started to evolving into more things. Even though he was only dodging them a little easier than his human body would have. Of course with how close they were, if he did a little worse he would be covered in cuts by now and one mess up would have a spear in his chest. Naruto was only 10 meters away from the man now making him nervous as he had no effect on him. Naruto continued to dodge and as soon as a spear flew at his chest, he blurred forward and grabbed the man's face before dropping down and slamming him in the ground with a crack. "Ah you bastard." Donaseek grunted out as he felt his nose broken. He screamed out a second later when Naruto crushed his heel down on one of his wings crushing the bone. "Shut up Donashit, you're grounded." He flipped out of the way to avoid a spear shot up at his chin. Naruto grinned when he saw the man get up. "Oh wow, you want to keep going? Good job. For that I will use my new technique on you." Naruto straightened out his arms and out of each sleeve flew 2 drumsticks which he caught between his fingers. Donaseek saw them and felt like he was being insulted. "How dare you? You think you can fight me? With sticks?" The man roared in rage as he charged Naruto armed with 2 spears of light. "Ahahaha, bad move." Naruto's black aura engulfed the drumsticks making them resemble short swords. Naruto held his hands up to block the 2 spears with the 2 drumsticks in each hand. The man's eyes widened. How? I don't know." Naruto kicked him in his chest breaking a few ribs and making his guard drop as he coughed up blood. The man got up and swung wildly at Naruto. The blonde avoided the spears like a fluid dance, stepping and leaning out of the way while parrying swings with his sticks that got too close. "How are you able to stop my light?" "I told you I don't know. Maybe when I find out you'll still be alive for me to tell you." Naruto swerved on a dime and threw 2 of the drumsticks in the air, slashing the man's wrists as they did so. He tossed another blade forward, making it cut up across the man's chest before doing the same with the other, before he blurred out of sight. He appeared in the air above the man and kicked 2 of the blades down, stabbing through the backs of his ankles and cutting his tendons. Naruto grabbed the remaining 2 drumsticks and somersaulted wildly downwards, slicing down the man's back and cutting off his wings cleanly. The man dropped his spears and fell to his knees as his body knew he was defeated before he did. He screamed in pain as it wrecked his body. To add to it, Naruto roughly ripped out the drumsticks from his ankles. The man tried to crawl away as he bled out from various parts of his body. Naruto stretched his arms and the drumsticks disappeared back inside his sleeves. Now look what you've made me do. All you had to do was leave me in peace and this would have never happened." Naruto kicked the man in the side making him tumble into a wall and propped him up. Please don't kill me. I can tell you anything. Information on the Gregory." Naruto paused before he grinned, his violet eyes making the man shake. "Haha, are you actually begging? Well that information could be pretty useful, so I'll tell you what." He took out a coin from his pocket. "If this lands on tails then you follow mine as my servant." Naruto swung his arm out and a shotgun jumped out of his sleeve into his hand. He pressed the kid against the man's face. "However, if it lands on heads then you lose yours." The man looked like he was about to wet himself. Guns weren't as effective on fallen angels as they were on people, but at this range it didn't even matter. As Naruto flipped the coin in the air, Donaseek screamed out. "Wait. My information is too important. You can't decide whether I live with a fucking coin toss. You need me." Naruto caught the coin out of the air and didn't even look at it. He pressed the gun harder into the man's skull. He had a wicked smile on his face and a swirled look in his eyes. You don't think I'm fickle enough to decide something like that? Well then let's find out, shall we?" Naruto showed him the coin making him pale. "Heads." Bang, the man's body went limp as his brain matter splattered across the wall from his blown apart skull. Naruto laughed crazily as some of the blood got on his face. Ha. I guess you were wrong. You shouldn't have told me what I can and can't do when I hold your life in my hands. You might have lived longer if you kept quiet. He stepped back from the body as his eyes turned blue and his hair dropped again. He looked at the body and sighed. Welp, I went overboard again. He swung his arm out and the shotgun jumped back into his sleeve, concealing it. Well, at least I got to use some of my toys. He looked up at one of the roofs of the houses, seeing Rias looking down on him with a somewhat astonished expression. Sorry, did I do a bad thing? Then no, he attacked you first, so I guess you were justified. HM, I always am. Huh? Oh, nothing. It's just that if one were to look at my history, every fighter altercation I've ever gotten and I was attacked first. I wonder what it would feel like to start a serious fight for once. Oh well, I guess that's a thought for another time. She just nodded at him but asked a question that was itching at her mind. But did you have to be so brutal about this? Don't act like you didn't enjoy the show, princess. You could have also helped me out, but you chose to watch. I hope this isn't going to be a regular thing. She ignored the first part as she responded. I thought you would have preferred me to not interfere in it. You seemed to handle it pretty easily anyway. He chuckled as he put his hands in his pockets and jumped up onto the roof next to her. So do you need me to clean up this mess or what? Oh, are you offering? Well, that's nice of you, but we have methods of cleaning this up so you don't have to worry about it. Very well then, and if it wouldn't be too much, could you take me home? Using that much of my aura is more exhausting right now than I thought it would be with this Ceylon. She didn't know how exhausted he really was, but if he needed her help, then it would be a step in the right direction to give it. Plus it was a simple request. Don't worry, Naruto-kun, I will see that you get home safely. Arigato, Rias-chan. Good night. He fell forward, passing out only to be caught by Rias before he hit the ground. She was surprised as he heard his deep breathing. Well, I guess he really was exhausted. I forgot that he uses his aura for whole days now. He is still new at using that energy, so when he started using it in combat, the tax must have been great. One thing that concerned her though was what she saw earlier in the fight. Right before she saw Naruto grab the fallen angel's face, the man had thrown a spear at his chest. Naruto blurred out of sight and she didn't get a good glimpse of what happened, but that spear was deflected somehow and went off to the side into a wall instead. She looked Naruto over closely and saw some smoke coming off one of his arms, but no burns were shown. His entire body was unscathed. Just what are you, Naruto-kun? She giggled as she watched Naruto's sleeping face. Well, whatever it is, you certainly are making things more interesting around here. Sweet dreams, Naruto-kun. And? What if Naruto is Ria's nephew in high school DxD? And thanks for watching my video till the end. If you enjoy this content, then do consider subscribing to my channel and leave a like if you guys need the next part, comment down, and thanks for watching the video and see you guys in the next video.